like this is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got really outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
It's a brand new season. Once again, we take ourselves to a track which finds itself as a traditional starting place for a championship which often goes down as one of the toughest challenges in all of sim racing. Yes, you could say it's maybe not the most glamorous of championships in the world. Yes, you could maybe say that it's not the one with the highest prestige in the world. But what it truly is an ultimate challenge of bringing yourself from obscurity to legendary and everything in between. Every single race needs you to be at your level best. Every single lap that is turned needs to put you up at the top of your game. And this is a track which, for today's opening round, is no stranger to needing pinpoint precision over 250 Ks. Welcome to V8SCOPS 2021. Welcome with the Virtual Racing School, with Too Easy Finance, with SimSpeed TV, and with myself, Jake Sperry, here in the commentary box, bringing you the action here today from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada, on the banks of the St. Lawrence River here, as this is Super Split 2. We'll be getting to the main event, 250 Ks, a little bit later on in tonight's action, but for the time being at least, you have yourself the golden ticket race. One driver will book his place into 250 kilometers worth of racing tonight. All he's got to do is win and you are in. It's effectively chase format if you're aware of NASCAR, but this here today with SimSpeed TV is going to be all about setting off the season as you see fit. 40 drivers then could not get themselves into the level that they needed, and today they are racing for what money can't buy, a place in Scops folklore. But here today I have Jay Kennedy on the cameras with us, and of course our sponsorship, brand new with us on the replays for the Virtual Racing School, who of course are the title sponsor here of V8SCOPS 2021. I'm going to bring Jay Kennedy into the conversation here because we are missing our regular for the time being, the moment at the moment. In fact, no, I won't go to Jay. I'll go to Bo here, who's alongside me for the time being. Bo, you jumped in here and had a little bit of fun. Of course, you're no stranger to these sorts of races in the SCOPS season. You raced a couple last season. Just how awe-striking is this championship in terms of the monumental efforts that go in to prove that you are the fastest sim racer in Australia?
Well, I think you only have to look at the hosted sessions that have been up all throughout the week. All these teams have been putting in so much mileage, so many laps, so much preparation to make sure they are at the absolute peak of their ability when it comes to this first round of the season. This is the series everyone in Australia wants to win. It's our Daytona 500 in terms of a series. It's our biggest event. And for all these drivers right now, they want to put their best foot forward and make sure they're at the top of the pile at the end of Split 2 and get themselves, like you say, that all-important ticket into Split 1.
Speaking of best foot forward, Reese Gardner, the Southpaw racer, joins us right now in the commentary box, just running a little bit behind schedule, but better fashionably late for the start of the season, I should say. Reese, we are in a really strong position here with this start of the season. I've seen all these driver changes and the teams starting to crop up and new teams coming into the fold, drivers who are maybe looking to impress and get themselves up to a level. What are we expecting here from this Circuit Gilles Villeneuve today?
We're expecting action, I reckon. It's a brand new season. It's a brand new start to the championship for 2021. And I mean, I love this track as an opening round circuit because it's got everything you want in a track for an opening round. It's got long straights, heavy braking zones, chicanes, big curbs. This is an unforgiving track and it'll certainly sort them out tonight.
It certainly will. And of course, if you are here joining us for the very first time, or you are here as a regular, you can like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by SimSpeed TV. And of course, that goes along every single day of the week there or thereabouts, with some amazing cavalcades of commentary and colours and different styles of racing all throughout. So make sure that you get yourself in for more action and opportunity. Let's take a look, though, at where we are today with the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as we will zoom on in with the Google Earth map down towards Montreal, Canada, very near Ontario, Toronto there on the left-hand side, with Detroit and Boston in the United States of America, as we find ourselves to the heart of the St. Lawrence River as we go on through, of course, this island man-made for the Montreal Olympics way back when. But this is a track which I'm sure everyone has known through the likes of Formula One racing and much more. 4.36 kilometers. It's a very, very tough battling circuit with two very long straights to spearhead the end and the start of the laps, with a very pernickety middle sector to go along with it. This is a pinpoint accuracy circuit to start the season here, Reese, which is often over-credited for being a speed demon circuit.
Yes, indeed. And fun fact about this place, talking about speed demons, that long back straight, the Casino Straight, didn't used to be as long as it is now. There were a few more corners to this circuit back when it first opened, but it's been gradually modified over the years into its current form. And I think in terms of speed, you've got the draft down the Casino Straight, a good braking zone into the turns 13 and 14 chicane, but in general, I think you'd want to get your moves done coming into turn 1, into turn 13, turn 10 as well, because that entire stretch from turn 3 to turn 8, it's very difficult to make passes there.
I'll tell you what's also going to be very difficult today. It's the track conditions that we have here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, as we take ourselves just a little look, hopefully in the next couple of moments. There we go, live out on circuit with the brand new 2021 graphics package up on screen for you. Track temperature is 19 degrees. It is in sim time about 8 minutes to 8 o'clock in the morning. These drivers will not need to qualify for their positions. Their qualifying was done over 18 hours worth of pre-qualification split over 3 days. And the difference between getting into split 1 and being out in split 2 was a mere 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, Thomas Hinz just scraping into split 1 there, and Kenneth Latter with the top time in the lower 40 has secured himself pole position, and he ran a time about 200ths faster even then for Cameron Veacock in 42nd place. So there's been quite some time dedicated by the drivers to getting the best lap time possible, but all of that falls away in a few moments because, my goodness, we are getting ready to move forward into the 25-lap race.
Yes, and it is worth noting as well, there has been a little bit of a mess up in terms of the fuel numbers here today for this Super Split 2 event. Of course, they have been given 50% of the fuel tank. I was unable to discern through the dulcet tones of Simon Black whether that was too much or too little from what they were expecting to be running in terms of the average fuel tank. But they do know they have to make one mandatory pit stop in this race to make sure they get themselves over the line. But 25 laps, always going to be a tough battleground here, especially as they go through. And we haven't talked about that pit lane, which can be very, very interesting to try and battle and deal with, especially when you're going at a full 300 kilometers an hour, looking to try and hit the brakes down to about 70 to make sure that you hit the line properly and correctly.
Yeah, exactly. That pit entry here at Montreal is going to be a big crunch point. If you're in a battle with another car, the braking zone for that final chicane is actually earlier than the braking zone for the pit lane entry itself. So if you're hooked up behind another car and you are wanting to pit, you're going to have to back off on your way into pit lane, and that could cost you at least half a second.
Yeah, so now they've got to try and make sure that they get those final bits of practice in and make sure they're going through. We do need to talk, though, about team changes and team runs. Dylan Rudd, new team. Sean Linsell, new team. You look at Cam Veacock, new team. Craig Jones, new team. Almost 4 of the top 5 find themselves in a new team in practice. And there's been a lot of chopping and changing, not so much from the top end, but what we have been seeing is that those, especially in the mid-pack, are starting to think about which team do you go where. One of the big teams who are starting to become effectively not just a stable, but a whole compound and complex of drivers is DPR, bringing Lincel and Latter away from Exto Gaming.
Yes, indeed. That's definitely one of the options there. And I think the reason why this is starting to happen is, I mean, we've talked about the team game quite a bit in Split 1. You know, you have the powerhouse teams like Trans-Tasman Racing, Altus Esports, United Esports, and Evolution Racing Team. Well, they've got it secured at the top. For these drivers in the lower split, this is part of their, I think, their desire to advance forward, hook themselves up with a good squad, get themselves some good setup resources and teammates to bounce ideas off. It's worth everything in these cars because setup incredibly important to a lot of these drivers.
And this is a setup game, especially in cold conditions like these, which could make things very difficult. They can see the odd one out there you just saw on your screen, the brand new safety car here today. Hopefully we won't see this in Super Split 2, but you can never say never as Craig Jones drives the brand new Delta Sport U4K team, which is spearheaded by Clint Shane Smith, who will be racing a little bit later on. But really what you are seeing is teams starting to put themselves into positions where they can be happy. But we do have a brand new safety car available. We're running the 718 Cayman, the GT4 in comparison to the Porsche Cup GT3 that we had last season overall. So what we have maybe is a car which now can effectively work not just for what's going on in SCOPS, but what's also going on in the support series that we had earlier on in the week.
Yes, indeed. We have got support series running for V8SCOPS this year. We do have the VOD for the first round up on the SimSpeed TV YouTube channel if you want to check that out after this broadcast is over. We've got the V8 support series using the old Australian touring cars from 2014, the Holden VF Commodore and the Ford FG Falcon. We've also got a Porsche Cup support series running. That's going to have their first round next round at Mosport. And there's also the Trucking Legends series, which I'm racing in, incidentally. You're switching between the Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 trucks and the Legends cars. Very similar to the Aussie racing cars that we have down here in Australia. It's going to be quite a packed year, certainly.
It certainly will do, and the only place horizon, as we have just lost our Mr. Cameraman there for a moment. Hello, we're back, so don't worry about us too much. Sean Lincel currently the quickest at this stage in practice. Ruben Goodall second, and Dylan Rudd there for the NSR team in third position. Can be very, very happy with work at the moment in that very fluorescent green and I would say almost fluorescent yellow that's going on. You definitely can't miss that. It's almost like you've got some of that aero paint that's put on Formula One cars to test out where you find, say, some of the turbulences that go over the vehicle, how wind washes over and aerodynamics work. But Dylan Rudd currently third position, moving away from the Premier Racing team. We'll see how results will go for him tonight as things battle. Practice, though, is coming to a close. What we'll be able to do for you now, ladies and gentlemen, is take ourselves over in the next couple of moments to the starting grid for the first race of 2021 and how everyone is going to be stacking up in what is a very, very important battleground race to set off on the right foot. One driver will put himself in the best possible position as he tries to get themselves through, and the others may be waiting. So, Kenneth Latter will have the pole position with Cameron Veacock alongside him in the United Sim Sports outfit, with Sebastian Tixier and Dylan Rudd making the second row. Aaron Dodd and Sean Lincel start fifth and sixth, with Matty Mascord there in seventh position. Expect good things from him over the course of the racing. Sebastian Flock starts eighth, with Christian Smart Knight, Hayden Veld rounding out the top 10.
In 11th place, Jamie McKnight in the second United Sim Sports car. He's going to start alongside his teammate Cameron Jones. Luke Rosella and Michael Schreier sharing row 7 there. Synergy Sim Racing sharing Greg Jones and Kyle Stokes on row 8. James Shastanov puts his E-New Sim Racing car on row 9 with Troy Cox, and it's Tyler Blackburn and David Kinman for Pursuit that round out the top 20.
We move on down then through the board to the next set of drivers then.
The revs are rising.
Well, they are rising already, so very quick. We're normally used to 3 minutes. We've only got 1. There's the green flag. Let's get going then here. It's a great start from TCA then. From the second row of the grids they go through. What a start there from the third row they challenge. Round the outside then. We'll try VCOP then through 1 and 2. Latter gives him just enough room on the outside as he goes on through. TCA goes around in the middle of all of this. So now this is going to be dramas here. They all fan out here and try and work a way through. I think they've just about all managed to squeeze on through without too many dramas, but it's almost like pack the sardines in as they go through. Dramas go through, VCOP leads, but Latter are immediately trying to get aggressive back. There's more dramas in the background. That's a Jinx shifter car in trouble.
Yeah, Hayden Veld was knocked wide by that incident for Sebastian Tixier, and as he tried to recover, they were all packed like sardines coming out of turn 2. Veld was spun across the back of the pack, and that's caused a massive pile-up. It's involved many cars and plenty missing bumpers, carrying some heavy damage. But Kenneth Latter up the inside there of Cameron Veacock coming into the third chicane of the lap. He's got the run into the hairpin.
It only took half a lap, but that is the race lead change then twice already in this one. On the brakes they go into Lapangle, the hairpin for the very first time. The NSR cars there, 3rd and 5th. Rudd in 3rd. Dodd there in 5th position. Linsell is already up into 4th place. They go on through and take that charge on the Casino Straight for the very first time in this 25-lap affair at this moment. Flock's had a good start to 7th. Christian Smart there for Synergy Sim Racing up already into 6th position. Can be very happy with that run, but a lap already scored in the books as they pass the fabled Wall of Champions, and we catch this on the Omosolgato replay then. Exactly what happened then on the start.
Indeed. So there we go. TCA gets turned around. Veld is sent wide into the wall, and you see him rejoining the circuit, but he's already got the pack racing behind him, 3-4 wide behind, and there's a huge checkup, and ultimately that spins another car across the front of the pack, and goodness me, quite a few drivers getting their race off to a very slow, very embarrassing start.
Yeah, it's very easy to jump out of the gates or stumble sometimes. Here's a dive down the inside from one of the United Simsport cars. This is Cameron Jones fighting it out then for 6th place against the 64, or the 84 machine, sorry, here of Seb Flock as they look to charge their way forward. So the driver under a bit of pressure and will lose out then to the 3rd chicane out on this circuit, turns 8 and 9, a very tough chicane which is single file all the way through, and that is a position gone as they look to push forward. Seems like there has been a couple of issues out there for one of the United cars, which has dropped now way down the order then. I think that was Cam Veacock maybe who's run into a few troubles they go through. So for re-entry, Tixier is going to get himself a penalty, but for Jamie McKnight and co now, look at the charges they try and gain places.
Yeah, it looks like Cameron Veacock might have gotten a slowdown out of the chicane. That's the reason why he's dropped down positions, but they're fighting hard into the chicane, sorry. The 027 of Jamie McKnight with the enemies at the gate all behind him. He's got Sebastian Flock for very close company with Christian Smart, I believe, just behind them.
Yeah,
no, sorry, Matty Mascord.
Yep, that is Matty Mascord then, looking to try and get into the mix then. He's in 10th position right now and wanting to gain places, A, S, A and P, and these are the laps where you get those in. Dylan Rudd, fastest lap of the race, 1:35.072, and look at that, he's immediately on the back of the Alco Holder DPR car there of Kenneth Latter. It's the 6th team of DPR that they have, and they are 1st and 3rd here in Super Split 2 as Dylan Rudd wants to put himself in the mixer and get himself up into that golden ticket position. They have to make that stop, remember, here as we are on lap 3 of this one, but here's something fascinating right now. DPR NSR, DPR NSR 1, 2, 3 and 4 as they now jam on the brakes into the hairpin once more, and you have to be so careful about how you tiptoe through because you can't see the front of the nose from the seated position that these drivers will be working in.
Yeah, certainly not. These cars They can race super closely in these things, but it is difficult to pick out where the front of your car is in a battle. So after some time out of the hot seat in this series, I think a few drivers will have to get used to that. Looking at 2 different places in the field here. Big battle for 15th place. In terms of the strategy, as the United car goes for the move at their final chicane, it is a 50% fuel tank restriction for this race, 55.5 litres. That means that the earliest you can pit and get home is lap 11, assuming a fuel burn of 3.8 to 3.9 litres a lap. So they're going to be racing for some time yet.
Ooh. Just saw that there in the live, there in our picture-in-picture, someone going straight on. I was not quite sure who that was. It could have been a driver there who's really not having a lot of fun, but someone did go off then, and there you see it's one of the Synergy Sim Racing cars. It's Luke Rosella who has the most awkward place to try and rejoin it. He's got to be very careful about reversing backwards too far so he doesn't get disqualified, but he's able to rejoin. He'll be behind Sebastian Tixier now, and that's not how Rosella wanted things to go in the early stages. Front 2 still in their battle at the moment, Latter and Rudd. Rudd just sitting back there behind. I wonder if he's maybe thinking about the fuel game here, just making sure that Kenneth Latter is out there in front, applying constant duress here as he tries to get himself as close as possible and saving as much mileage as he can so he has more leniency when it comes to the window of fuel strategy.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be hugely relevant in this race, but every little milliliter can make a difference, especially if you're considering how long you're at a standstill in the pits. Slight bit of weaving there from Dylan Rudd, attempting a little look down at the chicane. That incident for Luke Rosella, by the way, it was contact from behind by Damon Stockton in the braking zone that sent him off.
And Rosella has just informed the stewarding team he wants that looked at. No surprises there. And I'm sure that he will get something in the offing there. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th all in the mix as well. Top 6 is currently split by 4 seconds on the road, being controlled here by Kenneth Latter. There in what is 5th position is Christian Smart in the 999. And there's dramas. That's Matthew Mascord who finds himself around, and he's got himself a friend for company as well. That's Seb Flock, who has run himself into troubles. It looks like those two have come together then through turn 1, and you can see there a little bit of scraping on the back. It looks like it has been an ugly hit as they've gone through to one of the slowest parts of the circuit.
Yeah, very easy to do at a place like this. As we look back in the field, a rear wing missing there for Ruben Goodall down in 23rd place. So a lot of cars carrying dings and bumps and dents as we go through. It hasn't taken long, but the battle for the lead is on. I noticed Kenneth Latter slightly overcooked into the first chicane of the lap, and that's potentially opening the door up to a run from Dylan Rudd here. Is the Virtual Racing School replay, but maybe not for now, of Luke Rosella's incident. Let's see what the draft is like here for Dylan Rudd. The momentum increases, and Kenneth Latter having very little response here, but Dylan Rudd lifting off there in the braking zone, not going for the move just yet. This is not a place of the circuit where it's optimal to go for a move, and you just see in the bottom right corner there, Mr. Stockton there getting into the back of Rosella.
Easily done, and that is the hit. Lap 6 starts then of 25. They're getting closer to that pit stop window, and they are all starting to just fan into each other a little bit. Kenneth Latter is backing up Dylan Rudd, who does not feel comfortable enough making that move. And why is Kenneth Latter doing that? Well, he's got probably his greatest friend in all of sim racing behind him, who's going to wingman his way a little bit further forward. Sean Linsell, if that 554 gets into the mix here, that's going to make life very much easier here for Kenneth Latter. But this is a double-edged sword, because the more that he holds up and he can't help Linsell get through, well, it's the same story other way for NSR Esports right now, because they've got Dodd in the 737 who can come in and start making himself a nuisance.
Yeah, certainly. I think DPR is going to have to compose themselves with that in mind. But considering how far back Aaron Dodd is, it doesn't look like he's making much of an inroads on Linsell. He was 2/10 slower on the last lap, so might be a while yet before we see that battle come to fruition.
Very nice drift in the background from, I believe, Jamie McKnight there, the veteran driver that he is doing well, as we keep an eye here on Troy Cox, one of the newer names at the Trans-Tasman Racing team in the number 27 car in 12th place. He's up 6 places right now, and all these drivers are up a very, very good number of positions. You've got likes of James Chasnoff, who's up 8 places. He's your biggest gainer, and we are now starting to see a couple drivers here down in the pits trying to get back out again. Logan Barnett is one of them. Byron Phillips is another. They're both a lap down. But that 27 car definitely wants to try and move into the top 10 and would be a very good name for himself going forward if he can just get that going. The one thing is he's got probably one of the biggest veterans of sim racing behind him, someone who has raced up at the very top of sim racing before, and some teams don't change the same. Mitch McLeod, number 40, talking.
Yes, indeed. And I'm sorry, Sperry, but I'm going to have to correct you on this. Troy Cox, actually one of the veterans of sim racing himself.
Oh, yeah.
He was part of Trans-Tasman Racing's original lineup many years ago. So he's back in the saddle now. It's his first time racing in V8SCOPS in quite some time. And goodness me, what a baptism of fire this is in this 4-car battle. He's got Schreier and Blackburn ahead of him, 2 drivers that have seen quite a bit of running in this series, and McLeod, number 40, well, he's always liking to have a race. I'm wondering if he has a drink in his hand as he's driving. He does like to have a bit of fun, does Mitch, but he's keeping them very honest in this battle.
Oh, now I know how Gorilla Monsoon feels. Now this is getting awkward here. Blake Neck, Forerunner Motorsports, wants in. Traffic on the outside. This is going to be awkward. 5 trying to funnel their way through, and that's getting a bit dicey there in the middle. That's going to be forced down the inside there for about 18th, 19th position. Traffic wisely on the outside, getting out of the way. But that very nearly ran itself into trouble because you're all trying to funnel into a piece of road that you do not want to get any more shorter than it is. Damon Stockton gets himself a penalty for lap 4 as they go through, as we catch this on the virtual racing school replays. We continue to focus on the Forerunner Motorsports car. Well, we were going to see it. Well, here we are now. This is what happens in the middle. This is between Flock and Mascord, and that's just a case of just running each other out of road there. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, it's a very difficult opening sequence of turns here at Montreal. You can make an overtake if you're brave enough, but you have to be willing to give the driver you're battling enough room to keep it on the track themselves. We certainly saw it done in the support series on Friday night. We'll see if they can pull it off in the main game here today. This lead battle is continuing as usual. Kenneth Latta eking out a slight gap over Dylan Rudd, and it looks like Linsel's not making any inroads into that battle again. Aaron Dodd just sitting pretty there in 4th place. Should keep an eye on Christian Smart, though. He's pretty level with the pace of these guys, as is Cameron Jones behind. This could potentially be a 6-way fight for the lead at the end.
Well, the top 5 split by 2.7 seconds, and then you got Jones there 1.1 seconds back of that. But the big key is that they're all staying within about 7/8 range, because they're giving themselves a bit of buffer zone, of course, for when they make that stop, because they want to be here, Reece, going into that pit stop flat out as much as they can to hit that braking zone. If you're there within 3-4 tenths of a second, you don't have that luxury. You have to lift off a little bit earlier, and you're going to lose precious tenths of a second when it comes to that pit stop. And it might just be the pit stop that shuffles up the order and dictates how this race goes in the second half of this one. We focus again. Blake Neck once more in the Forerunner car has managed to get that move done and through up into 16th position. As we take a battered look at the 099, into the pits comes Damon Stockton. That will be for his penalty serving there in the simrigs.com DPR car. But you got Flock there in 20th. He wants to jump back up into P19 against Sean McNamara here for the 9.5 Sim Sports car. He was the last driver in. He was driver number 80.
Yeah, and it's been a good fight up here for Sean McNamara. He's avoided a lot of the chaos that happened on lap 1 and put himself up into P19, but Sebastian Flock is looking quite aggressive here. Remember, Flock pre-qualified, in 8th position on the starting grid for this one, so he knows he has the pace to get by, but McNamara is making life very difficult for him. McNamara also carrying a bit of damage there, as you can see, to his front right. Flock, meanwhile, as one of the cleaner cars in the field, despite his incident. Big slide for McNamara on the exit of the chicane.
Yeah, and you can see behind they are certainly fighting as well. Ruben Goodall there wants to try and get through. I believe that's Mascord he's trying to get on by. And then you got one more into the mix as well behind. That's Jacob Knight in the Exto Gaming car diving down to the inside. Gets himself then in the hairpin. Has he got drive off the exit here? Small kink left. That's Hampstead's kink there. Richard Hampstead will be racing later on today. He had himself a big issue there last season, which meant that he was stuck without any way to go forward, but Goodall will lose out the place then, stuck on the outside with not enough drive going forward because of the damage, and as such, he has to sit and wait in behind once more. Now that's a taker into the lane there just in front on lap 10. That is a little bit early for what your prediction is, but Matty Mascord has to roll the dice.
It's a penalty. He's been black flagged for the incident on lap 5 with Sebastian Flock, so that's a straight up drive through there for Matty Mascord, and he's going to be losing a bunch of time out of that, falling down the order. Big shame for him, having started in the top 10 himself.
A very interesting observation then from the YouTube chat that we have going on here from Ross Rizzo, former 6th place in the championship 2 years ago. He's wondering whether the strategies will split between DPR and NSR, whether they'll throw one car in early and one car in late potentially. And Reece, you put yourself in this position and situation, you have to work out who is the driver here who actually does hold the control in all of this pack. I would say it's none of them. It's the driver in 5th place.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to work this out here. Christian Smart, of course, a long way back, and I think if the DPR and NSR cars focus a bit too much on each other, whoa, there we go, into the pits immediately. That is Sean Linsell going for it. So that is the first sign, and going into the pits on lap 10, well, he might have to save a tiny bit of fuel considering that.
Yeah, and we're having a little look live then at this going forward, because this is another battle that is up on screen as they go through the rights and left. This is how much you need to battle and work things out. Back to the inside is the look. Oh, a tag on the rear quarter panel as you charge on through. That's very interesting. They stay as they are at the moment at the front of the field, but this is how interesting you can have your battles here and get through. There's also a great battle going on as well for 8th and 9th place overall in this race between James Chastaner and Michael Schreier. Keep an eye on that. Whoa! In the background, round you go. That is Mark Newton in trouble.
Indeed, and Newton we just saw battling there with Hayden Harrison. He's lost a bunch of time out of that, managed to recover well though, as Jacob Knight tries to make his way past him. Quite a bit of damage on that 099, and we've seen that car in the wars quite a bit today. Oh, yep,
look at
there
that
we go.
lead. That's a mistake there by Kenneth Latter, and oh, he almost pushes him there as he goes through. Give yourself a car. This is racing room between Rudd and Latter. Now the question becomes, what are you going to do? He thinks about going all the way to the inside. No room at the in. Latter looks to open up the line, and does he tease going on the brakes? Both of them were going to continue on. No, they're not. They're both going to dive in, and look how much time Aaron Dodd gains then on the brakes, as will likes of Smart & Co. Very wise battling by Kenneth Latter, because he's just given a huge advantage to Sean Linsell.
He certainly has. Now, where is Linsell at the moment? Just coming out of the hairpin. He's got a huge amount of traffic ahead of him. Byron Phillips, Rick Sibras, Stephen Varga, Sebastian Tissier, who's recovering from that lap 1 incident and the penalty. Linsell already there, making his way by Phillips, who lifts to let him go. Let's see how this works out versus the NSR machines.
Well, he's coming through the start-finish straight right now. They're still parked in their boxes still. Rudd and Dodd and Smart, and they're waiting. Finally, one of them will go. Long stop by one of them, but you can see already, look at how one lap of undercut comes into play. Sean Linsell with a huge margin that's paid off, and has paid off dandily. With that sort of run, he now gets himself into a great position. Now, I wonder where Kenny Latter's going to find himself in terms of all of this. He's got all the cards in his pocket, but if they are losing that much time, he's running 36.5 that last lap through, and he's running himself, his fastest lap was a 35.1. He is definitely losing time at this moment as they all try and tiptoe around the ice-cold track, which is starting to heat up moment by moment.
And some problems for Sean Linsell. He was getting held up behind Rick Sibra, so he's lost probably half a second there as Latta goes for the lane. Later stop here for Latta. He should be able to put a litre or 3 less fuel in the car, which should gain him probably a few hundredths of a second, if that. So it all comes down to this here for the race lead.
It certainly does. It now promotes Jamie McKnight overall out into the race lead as we are in the pit stop cycle at this stage. Latta finds the final box. This is an IndyCar style pit lane that we have here at this wonderful circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. So they've got a little bit more leeway to go on through and to try and battle here, as he will see many a car go by him. There is going to be his teammate in the next few moments coming through. There he goes right now, and look at how much time Kenny Latta is losing, because off of the stop he is side by side on pit exit with Cameron Jones, who has managed to jump him in that stop. What a stop by the United driver, and they're going to come right out in the middle here of Christian Smart, who has got ahead of both of them right now, and Byron Phillips, who quietly gets out of the way. Dodd a big loser, as is Kenneth Latta.
Yes, indeed. Looks like Stephen Varga with the quickest pit stop so far, 18 seconds, and Cameron Jones wasn't that far behind. So this is going to be quite difficult now for Latta, the amount of time that he has lost here. And I think the leaders, they probably could have afforded to go a few laps longer and wait for everyone else to make their pit stops before they decide to come in, because have a look at how it's affected everyone who was in that lead group, apart from Kenneth Latta's teammate.
Yeah, Sean Linsell has really made that one pay off, and this is the key. Like, Linsell was the domino effect which just toppled everyone else over in terms of the strategy card that needed to be played here today. It has worked well. In comes Michael Schreier then for Synergy Sim Racing in the number 30, followed by the analytical Race on Oz car there, and of course the youthful veteran, we can now say, of Troy Cox, who is in 6th position as he comes into the pits. Mark Newton for the MF Racing team also looking to dive down in, and pretty much everyone now, Frog Leap Racing there, diving into the pits there. That's Nietzsche in, as well as Hunter making that dive as well. Jamie McKnight staying out there as long as he can, as he looks to try and get himself some exposure time for the Too Easy Finance sponsored team. Craig Jones just behind them for Delta Sport U4K.
Well, question now comes, when will these guys pit? James Chastaneuf there in the Emu car up into 3rd overall, and I think with the amount of time lost in the pit stop, these guys are probably going to come out around the back end of the top 10, if that. Linsell at the moment coming through the second chicane, and Dylan Rudd still pressuring him here. This was the effective lead battle before, but now I think it's a battle for second.
Certainly does look that way, as we keep an eye out then on the 554 machine, the effective race leader of Sean Linsell. But Dylan Rudd in the 990 is really starting to turn the screw once again. He knows what he's wanted to do. He's got a fantastic turn of pace he goes through. We'll take a look picture-in-picture live. Into the pits comes the race leader, Jamie McKnight then in the 027. He will relinquish that race lead, I do believe, as he goes on forward. I believe that Jones and Chastaneuf have also decided to dive down into the pits as well, it potentially seems. So everyone in, so they will re-inherit the race lead. But you can see here, it's packs of 2 and 2 and 2 as they go through. Smart and Jones and Dodd and Latta. But crucially right now, Linsell and Rudd, the big battle for the overall golden ticket into the main event and 250Ks at Montreal.
Indeed, Latta has fallen, and Linsell taking his place here up at the front of the field. This is going to be a very tight battle. They've got fresh rubber on the cars as well. They can push a little bit harder. The track temp has gone up to 21 degrees Celsius, so a little bit more heat in the track, a little bit more grip for the drivers. Race on, indeed.
Race on especially, and now you start thinking about what can you do. Linsell leads this one outright, but that Mustang behind is looking very, very punchy at this stage. Definitely wants to be out there and aggressive and gaining as much as possible, but the 554 is looking in the rear view mirrors. It's the only place he needs to look right now, because that's where the battle certainly is. They've got a good gap on Smart and Jones, but but if you keep an eye out on how they took their stops and how aggressive they were, I wonder here if Sean Linsell will also be thinking in the back of the mind, well, can I just lift and coast ever so slightly in this sort of battle and save the tiniest bits of fuel I can and just hold up Dylan Rudd behind, who definitely looked like he wanted to be aggressive, definitely looked like he wanted places, as they definitely look like they want to get a little bit dicey behind that as well. Third, fourth, fifth and sixth in the line. Dodd looking most likely to go out there and attack.
Yeah, looking like it. Aaron Dodd up on the back of Cameron Jones, as there's no change for the lead coming into the final chicane. The slowdown penalty is going to be an issue here tonight. We've already seen a few drivers fall victim to that. Let's have a look here at the VRS replay. Nitschke, something did happen to him here down the front straight, back straight, sorry. Oh, big move there, big weave. And wow, a few cars coming together in the chicane, just manages to clout the wall of champions a very tiny bit.
Firstly, two changes of direction, that's a big no-no first and foremost. But secondly, to get up on two wheels like that and not come together with the wall or anybody else is a minor miracle right now out there on the track. There is Dodd in fifth position, trying to get back to Cameron Jones in the United Sim Sports car. They're in fourth position, but all of them being held up by Christian Smart, who is 3.6 seconds behind. This battle for the race lead. Rudd thinking about the inside, gets in the mirror there of the DPR car in front, but can't quite pick it up. And now this is where you start wondering about where do you go and make the move. We've seen Rudd be aggressive with Kenneth Latter, forcing mistakes down at the hairpin, but Linsell looks a lot more composed. Big lockup though, as he jams on the brakes. Can he get the rotation in the car? You're always trail braking these sorts of vehicles. At least that's what the legendary Madison Down reigning champion says. And look behind that as well. Smart is under immense amounts of trouble as Rudd now wants to attack for that race lead, and here could be the move that we sense right now. Thought about the inside, but he did back out of it there, waiting for a better chance.
Big lift there from Dylan Rudd as they make their way through the chicane, and you'll see the battle here for third on back. Christian Smart, he made a slight mistake on the exit of the hairpin, and so that has brought Cameron Jones right up to his rear bumper. We also got to think about the guys just behind them. Aaron Dodd, of course, for NSR, and former race leader Kenneth Latter is now right on the back of that train in sixth spot. He could potentially gain a few positions here if those drivers come together, but I think the win is out of sight.
Well, they've also got to worry about 027 Jamie McKnight. He's got the freshest tyres of anybody in this field. Currently, he's 1.4 seconds behind. Dylan Rudd searching every which way against Kenneth Latter, but he's got the widest car in Montreal right now, and that is Rudd giving him a small bump to the back as they go through. Let's look picture in picture, see how this one's going. You've got the battle first and second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth on the right-hand side of your screen right now as they charge into the third chicane and work things out. That's very late there from Linsell. Reese, you're absolutely right. This could be the moment that Dylan Rudd's been searching for. Pick the pocket maybe on the outside.
Oh, nah, Linsell put himself square in the middle of the road. He is not letting Dylan Rudd by any day this week. I think Rudd is going to have to start getting really aggressive in these final laps. They're going to have 8 to go, I believe, when they cross the line. Oh, no.
Look at that. And this is going to be awkward here in terms of the rejoin. Has to stay still. That's one of the Race on Oz cars, I think Smith. It may be. Smith, yes, absolutely right, who's in a huge amount of trouble there on the inside, and he's going to have to work out how he's going to be able to get going pretty quickly. If not, we might see the first safety car of SCOPS, but he is out and away, I think, at this stage. Safety car is deployed. This neutralizes the entire field. We have a battle, the first safety car of SCOPS, and it comes for Smith, who is parked there right on the inside, spread eagle across the circuit there, and that we caught the back end of as they go through, but a safety car now means that we got a few laps to bring it through. This is coming down to a 5-lap sprint.
Indeed it is. It's going to be a very close race to the finish. Benjamin Smith reporting that his wheel is dead, so that's a hardware issue there for Benjamin Smith. He cannot extract that car. He will be given permission to tow by race control pretty shortly, but for now, the field neutralized. I'm going to go back and see what happened there to Benjamin Smith.
Sure, we'll try and get cameras on that to see exactly how that one all played out, but Linsell getting a bit of a reprieve for a couple of laps, and he can be very happy about that safety car coming in. The because he was looking pretty much for right that Dylan Rudd was wanting to get through and probably was going to muscle away through. Now that they have a few laps to cool it all down and slow that field down again, Linsell can recover, and crucially, those tyres get an opportunity to recover and cool down from what will be some hot operating temperatures that they'll be running under.
Yes, indeed. There's an awful lot of time spent on full throttle at this circuit, so a lot of air has to be churned into the engine to keep it cool. VRS replay of Benjamin Smith's incident, and you'll see he'll be minding his own business coming down the straight out of the hairpin, but then out of nowhere, his wheel dies and turns hard left and bang into the wall. That is a huge hit for Benjamin Smith, and I think that would have been at least 10 minutes of repairs in the pits if he had been able to get it back.
When a wheel hard locks left like that in any way, shape or form, there is no way that you can stop that in any capacity. There is the Virtual Racing School safety car out there on circuit in that lovely Cayman GT4 there, that Porsche out there running around. And of course, it's up now for the drivers to jump up to the field and work out where they need to go. A couple drivers down in the back of the pack aren't really too happy with the way that Sean Linsell's running here. And well, Sean Linsell has every right to try and get this, but you have to also consider here in this situation, Reese, that he's running this slow under safety car conditions because he's trying to save fuel as much as possible.
Yeah, that would certainly be an option for him, but I think he'll probably get a little hurry up here from race control because Michael Korolev in the safety car is down at the third chicane now on the run up to the hairpin, going very slowly, 20 kilometers an hour to try and collect the field. And Linsell running at quite the reduced pace here. He's going to be saving up every bit of those tyres, every milliliter of fuel for one flat-out run to the finish.
And Dylan Rudd will want in, Smart in third, Jones there in fourth, Dodd fifth, Latta sixth, McKnight in seventh, and a reprieve for the likes of Michael Schreier in eighth position. Now has eyes set potentially on a top five, and when the field does converge in like this, this is where you get the battle lines drawn a little bit more aggressively as they look to try and go on through. This is going to be a tough battle towards the end, and Sean Linsell holds all the cards in his hands right now as he is desperately trying to get every ounce of fuel so he has something left to attack with here come the end of this wonderful race at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Through the hairpin, then at reduced pace under the safety car. And we should probably expect this to continue for at least another lap as things get sorted out. The field not quite fully collected behind the safety car yet, so going to see one more revolution, I reckon, before it comes in and we can go racing for that final 5-lap dash.
Yep, just making sure that everything's clear. One pass around. Yep, it is all clear there with Benjamin Smith's car towed away on a virtual truck, so to speak, back over to the pits. And the virtual damages that will be done on that virtual car will be repaired for the second round of the championship, so to and speak. But Linsell with the control right now will go at least one more lap around and work out who is going to be trying to battle it out where. But you've also got to look at drivers maybe who are a little bit further down in the field who have made great progress. Sean McNamara is up a astonishing 19 places here so far in this race. Mark Newton up 16 places overall. Rob Harris, he's new with Mark 1 at the moment in a number 13 car. You can see him right now. He's up 13 places, having a really strong run of things at the moment. And in terms of retirements, we haven't really lost too many drivers at all here in this race. This has been one really where you can say everyone who's needed to race hard has done without really too many dramas, apart from maybe a lap one squeeze, so to speak.
Yes, indeed. It looks like we have 6 retirements there. That's Matty Mascord, who is out and 3 laps down. Benjamin Smith, who we saw have that incident that brought out this safety car. Byron Phillips, Hayden Veld, and Kyle Stokes also not making it very far into this event. One thing we got to consider, though, as we're starting to gear up for the restart, is the acceleration zone and the overlap zone. we would have noticed on previous race laps, there is a bridge coming down the back straight on the run up to the final chicane. That is the start of the acceleration zone. Once Linsell passes under that bridge, he can go anytime he likes, but the overlap zone is just out of the final corner. That's where drivers can start gearing up for a move, but you got to remember, no passing allowed before the start-finish line.
Official word coming in from race control. Simon Black directing orders at the moment. The safety car will be in on this lap. Sean Linsell will have control of the field and we'll be back racing. It is a 5-lap dash for 1 golden ticket. Linsell, Rudd, Smart, Jones, Dodd, Latter, McKnight, Schreier. Your top 8 with Blackburn and Neck making 9th and 10th position. 1 opportunity needed at this stage, and they know that there is 250 Ks on the horizon if they do manage to pick up the big race victory. Linsell has himself the control. He's got any weight that he goes, and he's going at 75 kilometers an hour, waiting for that opportunity to go and waiting for that safety car, driving at 200 kilometers an hour, which has just now made its way into the pit past our commentary position here today. So now Sean Linsell will choose to wait and try and work out when's the right time to go. Rudd just sitting there on the back, waiting for the chance, waiting for the moment, waiting for that attack. Long hold as they try and work this one out. There is the Dodge Bridge, and what point do you want to go out there and attack and get back on the power? Lap 21, and he has really made everyone sweat it out for that charge, and he gets himself going, and crucially Rudd's got a pretty good jump there as he's gone on through. He's read that one very nicely, and so as they get back to green flag running, they haven't really done too much wrong here, and that's deep, almost too deep there from Dylan Rudd as they go through turn 1, through the centre S at turn number 2. No change of position then inside the top 6, but that very nearly ended in tears.
Yeah, very nearly. Rudd's got to get back up to racing speed, get used to the car again. And we see drivers struggling to get the grip back. Christian Smart, one of them, but Cameron Jones, a bit of contact there from behind from Aaron Dodd, side by side in the turn, and Kenneth Latter sees the opportunity, tries to go up the inside of Dodd. No dice for him there, but Cameron Jones here, starting to be a cork in the bottle. This could be a move.
It could be a move. It looks like a move. It has every right to be a move right now. Work out where you need to go under braking, and no positions change. Somehow, all 3 of them are okay, and there is no big drama behind them either. Michael Schreier in 8th, trying to attack Jamie McKnight for that 7th position. On the brakes they go, leading 3 right now, figuring things out. Latter down the inside then, as he tries to pick one up then on Aaron Dodd, and I think he's just about managed it on the power. Yes, he has. So Latter back up into the top 5, but it's a long gauntlet that he'll have if he wants to try and book a golden ticket place, but he wouldn't mind if his teammate was up there having that moment at the moment. Stockton calls race control. He's had a moment in the background, or a little bit further down the field, I should say, but crucially, this is now about how can you attack.
Indeed it is. It looks like that was contact from behind for Damon Stockton. Ruben Goodall there, sending him into the grasses. Oh, very close coming into turn 1 between Latter and Dodd. Side by side, and move done.
Move. What a move that is. Round the outside at turn 1 from Aaron Dodd. That is how much he wants to fight for a top 5 finish at the moment here in the start of 2021 SCOPS season. Some brilliant work. Here's the virtual racing school replay that we're going to catch then and see exactly what happened there with Damon Stockton and that issue that he was having here. On the brakes they go, and there was questions about moving under braking here, and as he goes in, bang, there's a domino effect. You can't stop that one. That's a heavy hit that has taken out a couple of innocent bystanders, and it's very similar to the incident, for example, that caught Robert Kubica out all the way back in 2007. But now look at Dylan Rudd here. He's all over the back of Sean Linsell, who would desperately want to try and bring Christian Smart into the party. No dice then on the brakes at the panel, but Smart so deep on the brakes brings himself back in, and Jones in the background then. He's under pressure because there goes Aaron Dodd down the inside to pick that one up.
Aaron Dodd's on fire at the moment. He's put on some great moves in the last couple of laps. He wants desperately to get up to that podium battle as there's bumping for the lead just up ahead. Linsell going very defensive there on Dylan Rudd. And into the braking zone they go. Almost contact at the rear. Nearly pushed wide was Sean Linsell, and oh my goodness, Aaron Dodd again with a magnificent run. Still battling with Cameron Jones, and
Oh, they've almost come
joined the
together.
party. Goodness me. Jamie McKnight
look at
just
that.
sweeping through on all of them.
Absolutely there. That's Jamie McKnight now up into top four. There's
Oh,
contact
no.
as well as Lato's gone around. He's so angry about it. He's immediately on the radio there with the contact from, I believe it was Cameron Jones, who he's
Schreier.
managed to run into the side of. It was Schreier even, sorry. So Michael Schreier then with contact. It's all going on, fourth on down. But look at Rudd though for the race lead. He wants in, he wants the place, he needs the position as he goes through. He went all the way to the Armco barrier trying to get through. Elbows out, lads. 3 laps to figure this one out. And the coolest man in the building is Christian Smart in the 999, third place.
Christian Smart's doing really well here in these final 5 laps. He's keeping the 2 leaders honest. We've had black flags come in, meanwhile, for Ruben Goodall and for Sebastian Tixier again for an incident on lap 22. The battle for the lead continues, and another opportunity will arise here at the hairpin. Will Dylan Rudd be later on the
Here we
brakes?
go.
Yes, he will. Big look up the inside, and he's going to get it done, but has he gone too deep?
Yes. Yes is the answer, and now it's going to be Linsell with a great run, wiggle through the left as well from Rudd, and suddenly that is Sean Linsell who's got himself through, but immediately back into the draft. You've got to cover. Which way are you going to go? Hard to the wall. Oh, he forces him out of road. That's some brilliant driving there. Heads up awareness by Dylan Rudd to get out of the throttle there as they go through. 2 laps to go. They are leaving everything on the table. This is everything we want 2021 to be for sim racing here in SCOPS, and it is proving to be one of the great races that we are having at the moment. Through turn number 1, a little bit of respite here for the top 3 right now, but this is all because Linsell is struggling. Dodd and Neck side by side. Neck around the outside now, moves into the top 6. Temporarily, now definitely.
Yeah, looks like Aaron Dodd there forced wide in turn 2. He's got Tyler Blackburn up his inside as the lead battle continues. Blackburn moves up ahead of Dodd, so former lead battle fighters falling out of contention here, but it is NSR versus DPR at the front, with Synergy Sim Racing in with a look here in 3rd place. And the battle, I mean, it shows no signs of slowing down. Dylan Rudd is trying absolutely everything he can here. I've never seen driving so hard for the lead of a race here at Montreal.
Absolutely not. And again, another good run coming off the exit. Sean Linsell is fighting tooth and nail for this one. He will be sweating buckets in his sim racing cockpit right now, knowing that he's got everything to lose and not much more to gain here in terms of having an incident. Now you start to wonder here, a lap and a little bit to go. How is this one going to play out? And will Christian Smart just be the coolest man in the building, pick up the pieces if these two come together? They get themselves under the Dodge Bridge here and race. This is everything.
It is everything. It was another tactical lift off there from Dylan Rudd. He knows that there's no sense in going for a move there when you still have a whole lap to go. He'll be hoping to get the move done at the hairpin if Linsell doesn't come back at him. Turn 1 then. Just, 15, 16 more to go?
Yep, just like that. Tick them off. 1 at a time. And now Sean Linsell will be fully looking in the mirrors. He'll be driving with a car as wide as the surface of the road itself and right up to the rear. Big kick of tail going through turn 4, and somehow holding it together is Dylan Rudd, who is ragging the tail of that fantastic machine, that Mustang, in every single facet of this one. How's the drive out of 7 there? Little wiggle on the power from Linsell, and suddenly Rudd has a chance at a very difficult place to try and pick up a move here. Turn 8, turn 9. He's thinking about it. He's diving for it there at the inside, but he has to back out of it late. And the back steps out, and they both run themselves into trouble. Here comes Smart to pick up 2nd place as he goes through. And now Sean Linsell only has a couple corners to scamper away as Smart picks up 2nd, but crucially cannot find one more. Linsell just needs to have coolness as he goes on through. Just needs to be calm and collected. Every single cliche in the book he must now find to make sure he's got one final chicane which works in his favour. The battle's drying up further down the pack, but he has had to really defend for this one. Every single position has been in his back pocket. The decision to come in first of all has been the one, and the 554 of Sean Linsell, book your place, deservedly so, to the main event.
Great win from Linsell. Played the strategy game perfectly and held off some huge advances there from Dylan Rudd. Closer finish here in the midfield. Hayden Harrison just beating Sean McNamara to the line there. What a race that was. I think there's going to be quite a few drivers unhappy with proceedings today as Nitschke and Harris sort themselves out. But up the front, there's definitely a lot to celebrate. Christian Smart, after starting in 9th, taking 2nd place. That's a great fight back from him.
It so is. This is one of the keys you find in these sorts of races here. It's very easy to find yourself in a battle and lose yourself some time, but Smart played the quiet game and he picked up 2nd place for his troubles. Maybe not aggressive enough for a race win, but you have to say this has been a wonderful sim race, and there is one more race coming up after this, your main event, your SCOPS opener here for 2021. And the question here on the 21st of February, which we find ourselves on at this stage, who is going to be setting the tone when it comes to this season? Official classified results then, they're going to be up on your screen in the next couple of seconds, if not now here, ladies and gentlemen, because Sean Linsell does just enough, wins by an entire second as he picks it up ahead of Christian Smart. Dylan Rudd, probably the driver who deserved the most to move up into the main event, but just couldn't make it happen when the time came. Jamie McKnight then gets a very good 4th as they all fought in the mid-pack, with Michael Schreier in 5th and Cameron Jones there in 6th position. Blake Neck, for Forerunner Motorsport, had a really good run. He started 23rd on the grid today and finishes up with 7th place, with 8th going to Troy Cox there. Tyler Blackburn, there in 8th place, as I misread. Troy Cox then getting 9th place for the Trans-Tasman Racing team, and Craig Jones for the Delta Sport U4K team, rounding out the top 10 in the 111.
Pursuit Sim Racing's David Kinman showing again why he is a master at working his way up the field. He started in 20th and ends up 11th, and James Shaston, if not far behind. Aaron Dodd finishes in lucky 13th after challenging there for the lead in the early stages of the race, trying to play the second fiddle there to Dylan Rudd. Hayden Harrison and Sean McNamara round out the top 15. Mark Newton makes it 16th. Sebastian Flock, he had great potential in this one, started in the top 10, but with the incidents, he finishes in P17. Stephen Varga and Mitchell McLeod, 18th and 19th, and Kenneth Latter, our pole sitter, demoted all the way back to 20th thanks to that hit from Michael Schreier, and I think Race Control might have a look at that later.
It's a tough game sometimes as you go on through. Jacob Knight then picks up 21st position. Dion de Graaf there in 22nd, I believe, for Team Hyperdrive. He'll be jumping in with later on in the season. Vincent Skilbeck then for the Wheelie Bins Mayhem Republic gets 23rd, with Rich Hunter in the 555 there in 24th position. Looking further down, you got Brenton Nitschke there in 25th position, Rob Harris 26th, and you got Andrew Ritchie for the EMU Sim Racing team, Rick Sebra there for Frog Leap Racing team, and then you've got yourself Sebastien Tixier in 29th place. The last finisher on the leading lap then was Cameron Veacock, finishing in 30th position, a far cry from where he started the race in 2nd.
Yeah, and Sebastian Tixier starting in 3rd as well. Those guys will be looking for some redemption next round. Luke Rosella, unfortunately not able to make it to the finish. We're in retirement territory now. Ruben Goodall, we saw with a few big incidents throughout the race and a black flag. Damon Stockton involved in that incident with Ruben Goodall at the hairpin. Matty Mascord classified 9 laps down. Benjamin Smith, we saw that hardware failure happen for him on the back straight. He is a retirement for sure from that. Byron Phillips, Hayden Veld, and Logan Barnett and Kyle Stokes, I think, all involved in that lap 1 drama. It was a very chaotic start and many casualties.
A very chaotic start, but that is just the beginning. It is just that, a start. So now Sean Linsell will find himself with a very, very great opportunity to move to the main event, of course, here of SCOPS, which will be coming up very, very shortly with us, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take this opportunity, though, to step aside for just one moment. When we come back, we'll get some fallout from that first race that we've had as Super Split 2, gear up towards qualifying of the main event here. SCOPS 2021, Montreal.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh,
he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your virtual racing school V8SCOPS 2021 season. It's the season opener live from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we are here with the opening round, this 58-lap behemoth, 250 Ks worth of intense action that we'll be finding with ourselves here over the course of the racing that we have. My name's Jake Sperry here on SimSpeed TV, joined alongside, as ever, by the Southpaw racer, Reese Gardner, as we get ourselves gearing up and ready for another year of the merry-go-round of sim racing, and arguably the toughest season you can ever fight for, the toughest championship you can ever win in sim racing. And Reese, we have to start and talk about some of the players of the game. You can look no further than the driver who has number 1 on his vehicle. We got ourselves about 12 minutes of practice before 20 minutes of open qualifying coming up. But Madison Down is the key to beat at this stage. Remember last season, he didn't attend the first 2 rounds of the championship and still picked up the championship with how consistent he was, not needing his drop weeks. Here, he looks to try and set his championship off on the right foot by trying to get dominance once again.
Indeed, he is not out on track at the moment in the practice session. Madison Down still yet to set a lap time in this practice session, but is certain to be a strong competitor in this one. Managed to put himself 4th place in pre-qualifying in the lead up to this round. But consistency is the name of the game for Madison. He's been racing this type of car for over 10 years now. And he is the benchmark, I think, in terms of the Australian sim racing community. Which drivers are the fastest? Which drivers are the most successful? Yes, you have drivers like Dane Warren as well, who really set the timing screens alight in the latter half of last year. But Madison is the yardstick of which every driver has to beat. And I think he's going to be a very strong competitor here today.
I think he's going to be a very strong competitor here today as well, and I'm sure that we're going to see that over the course of the action that we have. But the big key as well is how much strength in depth that Trans-Tasman Racing team has, because they've still got the likes of Richard Hamstead and Jake Maloney, who are 2 stalwarts of this sort of category of racing, but they have added to their ideals as well. The likes of Josh Anderson was the fastest man over the course of the qualifying work. In number 36, he's currently 3rd position right now in practice, but he is someone who I think adds an extra dimension to this team.
Yes, indeed. Anderson coming from a stint with Vanderwaal Sim Racing and also did some races for One Performance Racing as well, but into the Trans-Tasman Racing stable he comes, and he certainly set himself in a good place in that team already with the fastest time in pre-qualifying. I think you can expect some good things from Anderson this year. He's got massive amounts of pace. He races in real life. And in one of the strongest teams in the field, I think he's going to be difficult to beat. I'm sure that he'll give Madison Down a run for his money up at the front of the field, maybe Richard Hamstead as well. But obviously not at the top of the session at the moment. Currently, Andrew Gilliam, well, still racing for Pursuit Sim Racing, setting a 1:34.782. Gilliam was one of the star drivers of last year, took his debut win at Mosport, dominated the round there, and wasting no time setting his claims there.
Well, let's talk about that Pursuit Sim Racing team, because they haven't really made any moves in the market. They haven't really added or lost anybody, which I think is sometimes a little bit misleading when you talk about how good a team is, because it's the same when you go and look at, say, a professional cricket team or a professional soccer team or an AFL team. You look at sometimes a team that maybe doesn't win necessarily by signing people, but wins by not losing anyone. I think that Pursuit are in that same boat. Having that expertise of Andrew Gilliam is just infallible for them, that he makes the team.
Yeah, I would say that's very fair. Gilliam has been the star driver in terms of pace of Pursuit, and he has a good driver lineup backing him up, and I think they'll certainly be major players in the endurance races later on in the year. Michael Taliancic, the leader of the team, and out there in the 777. He raced with Andrew Gilliam in the Enduros last year, and they've got drivers like Bradley Vaughan with them as well, who can certainly get themselves into those strong midfield positions. David Kidman as well, one of the drivers in Split 2. We saw him work his way up nicely in the field. You can always count on Pursuit to pull up a surprise.
Well, let's also keep an eye on surprises, because Altus have themselves about 4 drivers, but here is Emily Jones, a partnership then with the McLaren Shadow team, a very, very reputable organisation. McLaren Shadow, of course, that is the Formula One and manufacturing style McLaren that you have right now. But she's got that technical partnership, of course, with Trans-Tasman Racing, has come from that outfit, but did have maybe an off-colour year last year, was finding herself fighting in and around 20th, 30th position when it came to qualifying efforts. The way that she pre-qualified here at Montreal pretty much blew my socks off. I was not expecting her to return to this level of form, and if she can continue to run this, as Jordan Caruso sets the fastest time in practice, Emily Jones could very easily be on for her career best. Her first solo top 5 is definitely in the offing.
Yeah, certainly is. Jones managed to put herself P7 in pre-qualifying, just under 3/10 behind Joshua Anderson. But she's been a busy woman as Emily Jones. She's obviously got her Twitch channel that she operates full-time. She's been making appearances in other places in the world of sim racing. The Porsche Esports Super Cup All-Star race just a short time ago, she competed in as well. So she certainly keeps herself active, but I agree with you. If she can maintain the form that she's showing right here at the start of the season, this could be her best year in SCOPS yet.
It certainly could, and we'll have to keep an eye out and see how she does over the course of racing actions that we do see. We're talking about some of the other teams that are looking to try and jump up. We haven't talked about Synergy Sim Racing. We saw a couple drivers earlier on that could do well, but they have a huge stable of drivers who always look to try and go out there and impress. There is their talisman, so to speak, Brenton Hobson, Hobo 88, a big shy away from maybe 2-3 years ago where he couldn't stop, finishing in 6th position. It's been a long time since we've seen him up at that level. He's had his health issues that have come in, but maybe the 707 is potentially their star for the future. Tom Freer went through a couple of team changes last year, drove himself out of a seat with Andrew Gilliam in endurances last year, and now he's focusing on getting himself back to his level best.
Indeed, and already staking a good claim there in 14th place. Just a couple positions behind is Glenn Postlethwaite, and Posy and Hobo have been racing very well with each other in the Pro Truck Showdown series that we broadcast on SimSpeed on Tuesday nights. They are certainly a strong lineup. I'm expecting good things from them in SCOPS, and Damien Johnstone as well. One of the drivers you mention a lot, Sperry, and I think we can count on him to work his way up through the field tonight as well.
He's one of those quiet drivers, Damien Johnstone, who just sneaks up into a good position. You go, really? You did that? That's fantastic. I'm so proud. And that is what you see from drivers. Some quiet drivers who pick up great results are the ones that you find. Griffin Gardner right now, for example, just jumped up into 10th position in practice. Another driver who's definitely looking to try and knock on that door. Does have a win to his name. He got a reverse grid win over at the wonderful track of Sebring, I believe a year, maybe 2 years ago at this stage. But let's go and talk HJR for a moment, Henry James Racing, because that is a huge conglomerate. It holds Zuva, it holds the likes, of course, of the Jinx Shifter team. It holds so many different facets. Here's a driver who absolutely loves this circuit, Brett Loxton. There's the Zuvacorn there on the outside of the vehicle, which will be trying to prance on through. But you have to say once again, it's a case of this team being one step behind everybody else when it comes to the start of the season, because they've always been a team that has been searching for the setup more rather than dictating and leading.
Yeah, I mean, you can always count on Zuva Racing to pull off some good drives when it comes to Enduro season, but yeah, when it comes to solo races, they're never quite there on the level of the other teams. This guy right here, Thomas Hens, who managed to just get into top split on the pre-qualifying times, he's certainly got a lot of talent under his belt. He won the Majors Bathurst 500 last year. He's certainly got some great experience in that Mustang with a brand new livery as well. Looks very nice. Ben Christensen too, part of that HJR stable under the ANZ Motorsports banner. He's carrying Racing Sims sponsorship. Racing Sims, of course, the sponsor of the V8SCOPS support series this year.
And of course, there's a lot of work going in behind the scenes by that team as well to try and move forward. DPR, they're definitely going to be one to keep an eye out on. Why? Because they took Super Split 2 earlier on. If you are just joining us here on YouTube or on Facebook Live, it is a case where Andrew Dyson, right now we focus on here, is going to try and work the team forward with the likes, of course, of Pearson, who's been trying to do well. You've got Philip Worley, who's been trying to do well. So many drivers. Adam Briggs has been their number one driver, some would say, over the course of a little bit. Every time you look at that team, there is a new driver who is staking a claim there to try and be best driver at that faction.
Yeah, there are a couple of men down, unfortunately, because Philip Worley and Neil Pearson are currently serving suspensions for penalty points accumulated at the end of last season. They won't be making an appearance here tonight, so it's up to these guys left over to fly the flag. And Adam Briggs in the number 72, he's put on some fantastic drives last year. I remember seeing them being quite in the mix at the Bathurst 1000 last year. Andrew Dyson as well has some great experience at this track. He won Super Split 2 last year and has been putting himself on the gradual up and up ever since.
Questions as well in terms of who could maybe break the glass ceiling this season, start to make progress. Keep an eye on that 718 machine, currently classified down in 15th position here in practice. We've got about a minute 15 to go. It's the Premier Racing team. It's Corey Shepherd who is behind the wheel. He's got Brian Bull for company, the Mr. Antenna car. You definitely cannot miss that Mustang when it's out there on circuit, but definitely one of the teams that you look at out there on paper and go, they get there, but Corey Shepherd, if he can just unlock what he is capable of doing, he is someone who can go out there, I think, and win races.
I certainly think he's capable of that too. I mean, I recall at the end of last season at the street sprint at Belle Isle and the final round at Road America, Corey Shepherd put himself on the front row for the final round of the season in 2020, and he'll want to carry that momentum into this round. He is sitting just outside the top 10 in 15th position, in fact, but we'll see what he can do come qualifying, which is only 20 seconds away. You always look out for Corey Shepherd on a one-lap run.
The one driver we haven't talked about is the driver in 7th place right now. That is Jake Burton, running for the VRS team right now here today. He is certainly hoping here with his BJR team affiliation as well that he is looking to try and move on forward, use this as a very big launching pad with a lot of success. He's had himself some runs in the Toyota 86 series and has proven that he has definitely got a great turn of pace, and he's got himself one win to his name in Scops. Of course, that was the legendary 8 cautions at Watkins Glen, where he held off Jared Filsell for a very, very huge victory back in Trans-Tasman Racing colours. Practice is over, but we can move over to qualifying. It's reduced this season down to just 20 minutes, but the same premise is the same. You have to get out there, you have to get racing, you have to get your laps in. And if you're out on track, you can't do the sim racing tried and tested way of escaping out of your car, going back and resetting and having another go. Oh no, you've got to drive this one back to the pits. If you reset that car, Reese, that's it, it's game over. You are not going any further in this qualifying session.
Yeah, the no escape rule has been a part of SCOPS for many years now, and certainly brought some interesting qualifying sessions, you've had drivers who would have had a great run at a final lap in the session, but due to a mistake, you know, sometimes drivers just forget that the no escape rule is a thing. They escape back to the pits, and by then it's just too late. You can't take any further part in the session. But one of the drivers leading the way out of pit lane at the moment, Trans-Tasman Racing's Richard Hamstead, that is a car make change for him. We saw him in the Holden last year, now he is in the Ford Mustang.
Well, of course, back when he was running TTL Esports colours, he was a driver who was very staunch in the Ford, moved to the Holden, maybe felt that he had something a little bit better, but going back there in the Bianchi model cars, Trans-Tasman Racing Machine into that Mustang and looking to try and go out there and attack. Let's go on board then, if we can, for a flying lap around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This is a wonderful circuit, street circuit by design, but something you don't often consider. Through the center S then, 90-degree left-hander, slowing down for 180 degrees worth of right-hand bend. You want to put the power down early, but not too early, because you'll understeer out wide through this corner, which goes on forever and ever before the chicane at 3 and 4, which is all about taking just enough of the curb. Don't attack the wall on the outside. If you brush that, you'll get a 0x instant point. Your lap time will not count. Through that right then of 5 in towards 6 and 7, and then the 8 and 9 chicane will be coming up. Again, another corner which is just extending out, and you're having to be patient on the throttle. You just wait for acceleration all the time around this place and hope that it comes to you, the grip, as you now head yourself through 9 and 10. This is single track through this corner and very easy to mess up. You have to be pinpoint. It's like threading a needle through that section before, of course, you run yourself down to Lepangle, this fantastic hairpin corner, a stadium complex of many stadium complexes. This is where you see the majority of fans around this circuit, and of course, this is one of the most well-attended Formula One races. Of course, when you are allowed fans, it's not for the global event that has been ravaging us for the past year. Hamstead now on the power, on the casino straight, because you roll your dice to work out where that final braking zone is going to be. The final 2 corners here, this final chicane, the wall of champions on the right-hand side, and of course the biggest slowdown penalty that you can find of nearly 4 seconds if you get it wrong and you have to go straight on. Hamstead then will charge to the line. First representative time on the board, 34.992.
That's pretty good there for Richard Hamstead, close to what he set in practice, just 2,000ths of a second behind, but Jake Burton immediately pipping him to the top spot there, just going 800ths of a second faster. Emily Jones has had a good opening campaign, putting herself into 3rd, but we focus on Madison Down, who's currently classified 22nd thanks to his outlap time, waiting for the braking zone under the Dodge Bridge. Down through the gears he goes. And going to the pit lane, evidently that lap was not good enough, so Madison Down is going to have to wait for the second phase of laps to set a time here. They are going to have to be careful though, because the track is 39 degrees Celsius, and it's likely to actually get slower as the session goes on. Something we've noticed in SCOPS over the past few years is the fastest lap times generally come at the start of the qualifying session, so a bit of extra work for him to do is, wow, that's a great time there from Gilliam.
He goes second by 8,000ths of a second then, so the 201 Pursuit Sim Racing car finds that position. There's the Delta Motorsports driver, Clint Shane Smith. There, he hasn't quite got the livery on the car the way he wants it, but he'll still make progress to the line here. Does a 36.006, remains down, goes to 22nd position. Sorry, at this moment. Loxton jumping into the top 10. Taliancic there in 9th. Scott is 4th. Webster is 5th. Emily Jones is up there in the McLaren Shadow car. In 6th position she is right now. And these drivers are all looking for those laps in qualifying. They'll go for 1 lap, maybe 2, and dive down for a fresh set of boots. The fact that they have lost about 10 minutes here in this qualifying session means that they don't have the luxury of trying a few more things than they would have done otherwise in previous seasons here, Reese.
Yeah, it's definitely more packed as Lee Ellis crosses the line, sets a 1:35.8, puts himself into the top 20. It's going to be a much more tightly packed series of qualifying sessions this year, and the big issue for drivers is finding space out there on the racetrack. I mean, we saw at the start of qualifying, it's something that we've gotten used to seeing, Sperry, commentating this series as long as we have, the huge glut of cars that makes its way out of the pit lane at the start of the session, and Montreal Montreal is not a short circuit. It's 4.3 kilometers long, rather typical length for an F1 circuit, but still, in a field like this with 40 cars, it's difficult to find space.
It certainly is. This is a track where you don't have much room, so to speak, to go and play with. So you have to be very cautious. There's your Super Split 2 winner, Sean Linsell. He'll make his run to the line as he remains in that position. Talk about drivers who are also finding some good times then in the early goings. You've got Ben Christensen there in 11th position right now in the number 9 ANZ car. He's definitely doing well. Here's a virtual racing school replay. So we've caught something out here on circuit, and they can see, oh, this is going to be catching you cold-handed here, are you, right now here? Oh, contact there, parked on the line, and I think you've only got yourself to blame at that point if you're trying to let everyone through and someone runs into the back of you.
Yes, indeed. That's quite a shame there, and that was one of the pursuit cars. I think that might have been Griffin Gardner, unless I am mistaken. Gardner has made his way out of the pit lane then. Madison Down, meanwhile, on a lap, and seeing where he's going to put himself at the end of this one.
Certainly, you've caught me with the mouth of biscuit there as I was trying to just get a nice more in. So, at this stage, you've got Burton, Gilliam, Hampstead, Scott and Myers now. Your top five. We haven't talked about Brady Myers in 5th place, another driver into the Trans-Tasman team, and what's key about him in the number 22 is that he wants to be in the best team possible. This is getting to a level you would think at this stage, that if they can pull all the strings together here, Reese, that they are talking about 2018 levels of dynasty.
Yeah, Trans-Tasman Racing, certainly one of the most legendary teams in AusNZ SimSport as Blake Purdy comes up to the line. It's going to be another mid-35 for him. Up to P18. That's a great improvement for Blake. We are looking for those 2018 levels of dominance from Trans-Tasman. Brady Myers obviously looking for that as Madison Down goes into P3. Finally gets a representative lap time on the board, 34.9, and all of the top 5 currently in the 34.9, separated by less than a tenth.
That's all you need to know right now about these drivers. Here's Sam Blacklock in 10th position. He's 0.3 of a second down. And what more can you possibly say at this moment in time about the way that this championship creates close qualifying combat here? The top 10 within 0.3 of a second. The top 20 within 0.7 of a second, with Darren Lobb currently in 20th place. So, Sam Blacklock with work to do as he'll try to make that drive. He's got a toe here through the final sector, so he's got a little ability here to jump up, potentially 35.196. That's extra position, but Hampstead's just found an extra 10th on the entire pack.
Oh, hello. Putting that Biante Ford Mustang up in P1, 34.8. And looking at the end of Madison Down's last lap, he got a bit of oversteer on the exit of the final chicane, which Thomas Hinz is going through right now. A much cleaner exit for him than I saw from Down. So I think we can expect a couple of tenths to be taken out there by the reigning champion. Hinzy, meanwhile, sets a 35.7 from 31st to 24th. Good run.
Gain of 7 places then for Thomas Hinz, who will be quite happy with the way that he is running things at the moment. He is someone who is saying himself he didn't expect to be in top split. He is spreading himself quite thin with his sim racing commitments, so he'll be looking at this going, you know what, I've got to try and get everything that I can out of this one. Cooper Webster jumps up then into 2nd position. Gilliam now in 3rd. So now Cooper Webster for the Altus Esports team, a team that came out of the Evolution Racing team, of course, brought up by Simon Feigl, now finds himself in 2nd with a driver who, again, could very easily find race victories and title challenge this season if he so wants to.
Yes, indeed. Cooper Webster has been one of the drivers we've been monitoring over the past few years as one of the rising stars. Burton abandons that particular run, comes back into the pits, but crucially, we are seeing lap times start to fall. We've gone from the 34.9s to the 34.8s. Let's see if the top 3 will be will be mixed up by the likes of Jordan Caruso here. No, not going to happen. Down into the pits again for him. Another one of the Altus Esports boys looking to bring that team to glory. Chris Coxhead, meanwhile, he's looking to improve on 27th place. So 1 minute 35.7 is the time to beat, and he goes 0.3 faster. That puts him up into 15th place. Great stuff.
Great stuff then from the Zuva Racing driver. They are missing one of their drivers in the HJR team. Of course, they're missing Kobe Jones. He's out with a broken finger right now, so he's unable to be out there and racing with everyone here. As into the pits, then they all try and get as close to the line as they can. Bailey Frid then for Pursuit Sim Racing. He wants to try and get himself a good result, gain a few places. Right now, he's down in 39th position. Right now, makes that charge over to the line, 35.782. That'll be good enough to jump up 7 places, 32nd.
Good stuff there for Bailey Frid. Runs off the circuit at the end of the front straight. Fortunately, there's no cars coming at least for the first couple of seconds. Managed to get out of their way. Robin Kirk for DPR. Another one of the drivers that is just knocking on the door potentially of some more success. He's down in 36th at the moment. 1 minute 35.983, the time to beat for him. And it's going to be a 36.0. No improvement, unfortunately, for the 711.
That will be a shame for him then, as he will now have to go out again, circulate around, find that lap time that he wants. Griffin Gardner, of course, has been on the wrong end of the start. He's lost quite a few minutes trying to work out, can he get himself back into position and going again? And he gets himself a fresh car. Of course, you are allowed a brand new car once you are back in your pit box, and that 35.1 then is not representative, I do believe. So he's unable then to make that one happen the way that he wants to. So he's going to have to go out again and work things out. Your top 5, Hampstead, Webster, Gilliam, Burton, and Madison Down, the reigning champion in the number 1 Trans-Tasman racing machine. This is some incredible lap times that we're seeing in a qualifying. I have not seen this close in a very long time here. When you talk about 3-4 drivers in every bracket, they're from 134.8 to 135.1.
Yeah, this is some insanely close times, and any incremental improvement can work out for you, as Emily Jones and Job Stewart just proved. Jones gets up to P9 and Job Stewart putting himself in P15. Darren Lobb has just improved to 25th place as Andrew Dyson looks to gear up a lap time. Richard Hampstead now coming to the end of, I believe, an outlap here to have one final run and improving on that 34.8.
Is this going to happen then for him? Is this the time where Richard Hampstead picks up pole position here at Montreal? He's got some very talented drivers there behind. Webster, Gilliam, Jake Burton, he knows all too well. Madison Down, his teammate, his boss even, you could say. All of which you would say 5 years ago, Hampstead and Down would never be teammates, not in a million years. Two of the biggest teams in Australian sim racing, merging together at the end of a, well, very difficult situation. TTL, of course, reviving, but by no means in the same capacity. But Richard Hampstead needs what he wants. He needs to maintain that qualifying control at the moment of pole position. But when you've only got 0.04 of a second, it's very difficult to say that you hold control over much.
Yeah, with those times as close as they are, they won't be having any delusions of control here. Griffin Gardner, meanwhile, has pulled back into the pits again on that lap. He still has the slowest time in the field. Gonna wait and see if he goes out for one final run. Gardner is leaving the pits. Let's see if he can avoid starting on the back row. Richard Hampstead picking up a slight bit of draft from what looks like an Evolution Racing Team car up ahead of him. And down the back straight they go. Indeed, it is one of the ERT machines. So let's see then. 1 minute 34.807, the time to beat, and it's not going to be beaten this time. Hampstead abandons it.
Oh, Brady Myers to the top, number 22 with a 134.718 out of thin air. Houdini couldn't find that time. Brady Myers would, though. He certainly feels happy. It is currently Trans-Tasman 1-2, Altus 3-4 as James Scott has jumped to third.
Great stuff here coming into the final quarter of the qualifying session. Myers, I think, timed that lap perfectly. He will be wary, though, because he knows that Madison Down is looking for some improvements. He's still working on improving on that 1 minute 34.9 that he set. Jake Burton abandoning another lap, and P6 seems to be where he's staying for now. Robin Kirk, let's see if he improves on 37th. He's got Madison Down right behind him, and a big curb hop there for Madison Down, and I think he almost got into the wall of champions on the headlight flash for some reason. And starting off another lap, it's a 34.902 for him, but no change in position.
He did jump one. He jumped Caruso there from 8th, 7th,
yes.
which shows you how far down he was. But the fact that he was so heavy over that curb is showing just how much he is pushing, and the mental pressures that come with being reigning champion, which of course he wouldn't have had for a number of seasons. He's been on the outside looking in to the likes of Jared Filsell, for example, over the last 3 years prior to his championship. So that's always going to be in the back of the mind. I now have to go out there as champion. There's Josh B. Thomas for the Evolution Racing team, run by Brenton O'Brien, of course, who is a very key figure down at Winton Raceway. But at this stage, here's Darren Lobb trying to make progress. He can't quite find what he needs. Here's Glenn Postlethwaite, though, 35.430. And for the time being, he jumps 9 places. He's up now 21st. He shares a row with his good teammate, Brenton Hobson.
Indeed he does. They'll be hoping that they can keep that, and so they can coordinate their start from there. But Synergy probably hoping for a little bit better here at the opening round of the season. Can Hobson continue to improve on his time? 35.459 to beat, and that's going to be the start of a lap there for Brenton Hobson. What about Andrew Gilliam then? He's been threatening for pole position. Was sitting in 3rd for quite some time, but now that the track seems to be getting faster, the temperature is falling. It's down to 38 degrees now. Gilliam has a great opportunity here to potentially put himself on the front row. A nice clean exit from the Wall of Champions as Brian Borg follows him. So let's see. Andrew Gilliam, I think, starting a lap there as Brian Borg goes 35.5 and jumps to 29th. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff, and that's only 0.8 of a second off of pole position, believe it or not. This is some insane qualifying times that we are seeing right now. Here's Jake Burton gearing up for a flying lap. 2 minutes, 10 seconds remaining on the clock. You need to be getting out of the pits now to be comfortable getting your starting time. 35 is down there on the lane. Here's Zach Hanlon in 39th position, trying to improve on his times. He's going on to start a lap, I do believe, at this stage. So everybody right now, Spinner right there on the exit. That's going to cause a big spanner in the works then. Darren Lobb escapes, and he will not improve any further. He wouldn't have had time to go out there and set a lap time anyway. So we'll catch a look on the Virtual Racing School replay then of what happened to the 199 of Darren Lobb in the simrigs.com DPR machine through that final chicane, and this is how you get too aggressive. He's up over that curb, wiggle, 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 and the back never settled, and he's hard into left wall, right wall, and that is going to take some hefty repair job between what is going to be qualifying and racing action overall. So Myers then currently still on top with a minute and a bit to go.
Corey Preston's going to be searching for some improvements in the 98 machine. The number 9 of Ben Christensen as well, another driver that we've focused on in the past. Had some great runs in Split 2, doing well in the Enduros as well. He's currently in 14th position and looking to improve as Jake Burton is nearing the end of the hot lap here. Can he improve on 7th? Big hops across the curbs at the chicane. Just avoids getting into the grass. Hopefully there wasn't an off track there for the West Australian, now based in Melbourne. A 34.827, jumps to 3rd.
Great time from Burton. He splits up then Scott and Webster from the 2nd row and jumps and places himself there. Myers, Hampstead, Burton, Scott, Webster. Now, Griffin Gardner is in 6th place in the 93. He has quietly put that time down on the board. He's quicker than Andrew Gilliam by 0.005 of a second. Here is Jamie Stovall trying to get progress. Emily Jones, I think, is just going to be able to get one more lap. She is, as she goes on forward. Adam Briggs, nothing going. Jake Maloney, surprisingly, down the order. 35 flat for him, jumps him up to 12th place then with that one, gains 4 places. And to think that being a quarter of a second down on pole position doesn't even guarantee you a top 10 at this stage. Webster to the top with a 34.6 at the end of qualifying. Everyone now searching for those times. Scott moves up then into 4th position on the 088 Altus Esports car. Webster has found half a 10 exactly when he has needed it. Preston's going to move over to one side. He won't be able to improve on his lap time, nor can Ben Christensen in 15th position. He's had a lot of help over the off-season, even got a new girlfriend, Tani Stevenson, hello. But now you've got Reece Keane, then he's going to be dropping himself then into pit lane. He's not going to be trying to get on through, but now you've got Brenton Hobson who wants to try and find some times. Hobbo, 88, can you find that time that you so very much need? 142.3, no dice, but Hobbo will start then from the 12th row of the grid, which is not exactly where he wants to be at this stage. Jake Burton will not improve, but what about number one, reigning champion, searching for time every time through this chicane? He has been commitment plus, but has he found himself everything that he needs? Madison Down flashing the lights. He feels he might be happy with this one. 34.820 only. P5 for the reigning champion, and that tells you just how crucial this is. Jones may be the last driver over the line. Has she got enough to move inside the top 10? It's a 35.153. No dice either. Coxhead will slow to the line as well. He will not improve on his lap time. So, grid formed. Cooper Webster has got what he wants, as Salut Gilles indeed. Pole position will be going the way of Logitech G Altus Esports. With that pole position, it will be Brady Myers alongside him, his former teammate, in second, with Richard Hampstead in third and James Scott, who won this race last year, mind you, in fourth position. The reigning champion, Madison Down, starts in fifth position with Jake Burton in sixth place, as we do wait here, ladies and gentlemen, for the grid to form up officially, and we move and switch sessions from qualifying to race so we can go through this. Of course, it will be Jordan Caruso who will be starting for the Logitech G Altus Esports team in seventh position, with Griffin Gardner in eighth. Andrew Gilliam, surprisingly down the order there, in ninth position in the 201 Pursuit Sim Racing car. And it is Josh Anderson, who was the fastest in pre-qualification, who rounds out the top 10.
There is your top 10, and what a top 10 it is to start off the season. From 11th, it's going to be Emily Jones, starting alongside Jake Maloney, both in the same general team, but of course Emily Jones with the McLaren Shadow partnership. Job Stewart and Brett Loxton are going to start alongside each other on row 7. Sam Blacklock makes it another Altus Esports car in 15th alongside Ben Christensen. Corey Shepherd and Tom Freer on the 9th row. Corey Shepherd, I think, looking for a bit more time in that session. He's a bit far away from what we saw from him at the end of last season. Adam Briggs and Blake Purdy rounding out the top 20 there. Simrigs.com DPR and Pursuit Sim Racing, this midfield is their territory.
Michael Taliancic, boss of Pursuit, then starts 21st, and two little ducks for Chris Coxhead. He starts from 22nd position overall. Synergy, lockout row 12. It's Glenn Postlethwaite, a driver who has a very difficult last name to pronounce. And of course, Hobbo 88, Brenton Hobson there, starting in 24th position. Josh Thomas there for the Evolution Racing team goes from 25th, with Corey Preston, Exto Gaming Motorsports there 26th, with Thomas Hinds there, part of HJR, Henry James Racing 27th, and Damien Johnstone in 28th. Andrew Dyson, that is very off colour for him, as he is 29th, looking a little bit like a hat salesman right now, with Bradley Vaughan in 30th.
Brian Borg in the 017 starting in 31st, with Jamie Stovall alongside him on row 16. It's Darren Lobb and Kurt Stenberg sharing the 17th row of the grid, and Lee Ellis, Kurt Stenberg's teammate there at Trans-Tasman Racing, a position behind, with Reece Keane in 36th. The nice mirror there on those two rows for DPR and TTR. Robin Kirk in 37th, with Bailey Fritt alongside. Zachary Hanlon was on a hot lap at the end of qualifying, but he ran wide at the hairpin. He's going to have to settle for 39th place at the start, with Clint Smith rounding out the top 40, and our split 2 winner, Sean Linsell, not that far behind on time. He'll be starting from 41st place and looking to work his way forward.
And they will certainly be doing well, and that is also the team there of your stewarding outfit there. You've got Nick Parker, you've got Michael Korolev, and you have also got one very Mr. Important, Simon Black. But these drivers are going to be chomping at the bit. This is 58 laps worth of racing, 250 Ks. worth of action. It is Cooper Webster with control of this one at the front, and everybody getting excited, everybody getting ready. And SCOPS 2021, well, if Super Split 2 was anything to go by, this promises to be an electric season if last season was not already. Get yourself strapped in, because this is the roller coaster ride, the premier series of Australian sim racing. It will start right now as they get themselves going. It was not the best from Brady Myers off the line on the front row. Immediately swamped by Richard Hampstead. Here comes Down and Scott then to the inside as they go through. Contact there as they go through. Wide goes Cooper Webster. Maybe eyes bigger than the belly. Hampstead takes the lead as he goes on through. And somehow still in third is going to be those drivers that they attack. Mid-pack are absolutely fine as they go through. Some aggressive driving as they go through that chicane. 3 wide through turn 3. In the background, 1 going straight on there. That's one of the pursuit cars.
Indeed it is. Some troubles there for Pursuit as we look at Corey Shepherd working his way back here in this pack. His teammate Brian Ward just behind him there.
Jake Burton somehow survived in the early stages, and he's giving more than he got with here as he finds himself a bit of fun with Andrew Gilliam there, and that's allowed Josh Anderson to jump through both of them. So some amazing battling going on in the early stages. Burton came with elbows out and wanted to have a fight.
Indeed he did, forced Andrew Gilliam off the track there at the chicane, and Gilliam having to serve a slowdown. He's going to lose a few positions there. Dangerous on lap 1, but they come down to the hairpin for the first time. Up the inside, Jake Maloney looking on Emily Jones, and it looks like that's going to be move completed for them as Jake Burton tries skipping away as best as he can from this section of the field. The top 5 spread out now down the back straight as we come up to the end of lap 1. It is Hampstead leading the way with Myers falling way down the field there, unfortunately, from his start. But Cooper Webster and James Scott completing the top 3 places. It's a good start there for Altus Esports, splitting the TTR machines.
They're very fortunate they're still doing well, as that is Myers under so much duress here from Jordan Caruso, 5th and 6th position. Hampstead, Webster, Scott, Down, Myers, Caruso, Anderson. The top 7 are either Trans-Tasman or Altus Esports. If you want form setters, that's how it looks right now, Reese.
Indeed it is. They've emerged right now playing their cards first as the top teams of the series, and Jordan Caruso briefly having a look there at Brady Myers. He will know that there's potential for a move further on down the line. The drivers are just sorting themselves out now, but we're going to have to start thinking about strategy soon. This is a 250-kilometer race, and so there are 2 required mandatory pit stops. It's an 80% fuel tank restriction. You'll be able to pit and get home from lap 35. You are going to have to make another pit stop somewhere down the line.
I got word as I talked to a couple of teams earlier on before this race that lap 12 could be the key, the opening stop as they go through. A little bit of battling in the background as we focus here on this going forward here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is Jordan Caruso we keep an eye out on. Here's a little look here at the virtual racing school replay into the final chicane, and that was dramas a little bit earlier on. Oh, didn't hold the brakes, and now we got a junkyard as they went on through. Oh, someone actually went up and over there. One of the Trans-Tasman drivers. Was that Stenberg, perhaps?
Yeah, either Stenberg or Ellis there. It looks like it might have been Kurt Stenberg as Richard Hampstead and then Josh Anderson setting the fastest lap as we are up to racing speed. A big pile up at the rear of the field there, and just goes to show you do have to be careful when racing these things. The 017 of Brian Borg with some issues there. He stopped in the runoff area. I don't think that will be a safety car. He's pulled off by the marshal's post. Number 5 of Bailey Frid also coming in for an early pit stop.
Yeah, that is well out of the way. So far out of the way, in fact, that he's already got it on the service truck, so to speak. So he's done a very good job. There's your track conditions. 38 degrees right now. Winds blustering in at about 13 kph then from the northwest. Here it's a 58-lap race here today, and they are on lap 3 of that at the moment. Escape cleared for Brian Borg as his race is all but done. But right now, it's about settling down into a rhythm and working out strategy games, because when you've got three or four drivers here in the top 7, as these 2 teams do, this is now going to be all about the minds out there for what do you want to do, how do you want to play the game that gets you up in front and gives you the best track position possible.
Well, for now, I think maintaining these gaps is a good idea, because when the pit stop cycle comes around, we've talked about that pit entry. You see how it just goes straight on at the final chicane. So if someone wants to try and do a pit stop from behind someone like Richard Hampstead, they are going to have to be careful. We already saw that happen in Split 2, where drivers had to lift off on the entry into pit lane to avoid an incident. Jake Burton still working his way through here, trying to catch up to this top 7 battle. Ran 2/10 slower than Josh Anderson on the last lap, but it looks like Anderson and Hampstead are the quickest of this top 7 group at the moment.
Yeah, in the 36, Josh Anderson, he proved he had the quickest one-lap pace of anyone, over 18 hours of pre-qualification to determine who would be inside the top 40 for this race. So he definitely knows he's got pace, but he couldn't quite transform it over those very high-intense 20 minutes of qualification to set the grid here for this one out. There is Caruso and Myers here as they battle. And of course, Myers switching from Altus to Trans-Tasman over the off-season, which is a very interesting ploy, as he feels that maybe going to Trans-Tasman gives him the better form of V8 success, which he'll be certainly hoping to target. Emily Jones has just dropped a position I've just seen on the timing stands, and more, actually, as she's got a slow-down penalty. So the McLaren Shadow driver will now drop outside of the top 15. That's Joe Stewart then going through from 14th into 15th, and that will promote the likes of Brett Loxton up to 11th, and Ben Christensen up there into 12th.
Yeah, Job Stewart recovering for some dramas on lap 1 himself, as you see Glenn Postlethwaite there in the pits with quite a damaged front end. Bailey Frid's going to make his way out of pit lane. He's gotten his repairs done, but I'm wondering if that's night over for Postlethwaite. Caruso, indeed, falling off the back there a little bit and pressuring Brady Myers into turn 1. Nearly contact between the two of them as Cooper Webster pressures Richard Hampstead for the lead. We got battles going on at either end of this pack.
It's absolutely fantastic. It is Altus versus Trans-Tasman. They've almost coupled themselves together. Through goes Blake Purdy then. He's had a rocket ship start. He's up 8 places then, off through the opening 5 laps. Well, like a whippersnapper he is, he's running through, and Job Stewart, his teammate, wants to jump along with him as well. You say jump, you ask how high? Well, you got to get by Ben Christensen first, and he is a very, very tough driver to get by, even at the best of times. Look at the train that forms behind him.
Indeed, Ben Christensen got compromised through the chicane back there and allowed Job Stewart right up onto his bumper. He's going to go for the move here at the chicane after. No, he's not going to pull out and commit to the move. I think Stewart knows what's happened on lap 1 with Andrew Gilliam getting forced wide there. You don't want to go side by side through that corner this early in the race. You could slow each other up and leave yourselves at the mercy of the pack behind us. That is a slowdown for Adam Briggs.
It is, and Briggsy is going to drop a number of places in the number 72 simrigs.com DPR machine, and he will now start to just work away back through this pack again. More work on the horizon. The top 4 right now piloting through. Hampstead, Webster, Scott and Down are all looking to try and make this race theirs as they go out and attack here on lap 5, well now lap 6 here of 58 as they go on through here in towards the Senna S once again. There's a number of Senna S's actually in the world, but for the time being, this is patience because they know there's no point in getting the elbows out this early in the race. They are on lap 6 of 58, not lap 58 of 58. They know that they can't win the race right now, but my goodness, can it be lost?
Yeah, for sure, and you see through all of those dramas in the midfield, there's certainly a lot of drivers that have lost out already today as we check out Emily Jones trying to make some form of recovery here down there in those positions. Got a few cars in front of her. That's going to be very tough work, especially when they're close together and evenly spaced out like they are.
And this is where it gets difficult because you start forming battle packs in this sort of race, and those become very difficult to try and manage. Defensive line taken then into the hairpin from James Scott, and he just runs slightly wide, which nearly opened the door for the reigning champion Mazison Down to try and pick that one up. The gap has now extended between Webster and Scott, and I wonder here maybe if Scott is now starting to play rear gunner. Christensen now wants to try and get back through on what is Job Stewart, who has made his move up into the 13th position, but Christensen not giving this one up there in the ANZ Motorsports car, part of the HJR representative, looking down to the inside, trying to pick that one up at the chicane. But later on the brakes there is Job, who is able to just about hold on to things for the time being. Another little look then as it's hard to the left-hand side, as Christensen's going to have to force to take a lane. Middle of the road driving there from the 35. Not much you can do there if you're Ben.
No, certainly. Job Stewart putting on a great defensive drive there, as I think that was Glenn Postlethwaite coming out of the pits just ahead of them. That's going to be lap traffic that they're going to have to deal with, and Posy with a very substandard looking car, missing the bonnet, missing the rear wing, but at least he's still out there and can potentially get classified with some points.
And points in this series means absolutely everything. Even if you can finish 39th, 40th, 41st position, you're still scoring big points, and those points add up to the end of the season. How many times in this championship race have we seen the likes of Kurt Stenberg finish inside the top 10, Thomas Hinds inside the top 10, Ross Rizzo inside the top 10, Emily Jones inside the top 10 when she didn't have as much pace? Why? Consistency and finishing races, as there's a little bump to the back of Richard Hampstead there, and very nearly a bump to the back of James Scott behind.
Yes, indeed. The battling continues, and it looks like it might be a move here for Madison Down. James Scott going defensive down the back stretch, and Down obviously with the better run out of the hairpin, but forced to go to the outside. James Scott, though, lifts off and lets Madison Down go into the braking zone. Perhaps a strategic lift there, but oh no, Down into the wall of champions, glanced off with the rear wing. That could potentially leave the door open to James Scott here into turn one. He's forced himself alongside, up to the B pillar at the turning point for turn one, and side by side again, but Down wins that battle out.
And a big shot to the back as he goes on through. Very nearly had his run, but now all of a sudden Myers is back in there. Caruso will want back in, and Anderson as well. They're tugging along Jake Burton for the ride also, who's got Gardner and Maloney and Loxton and Purdy there also. So this one all starting to form up as here we go, side by side. Hampstead there with Cooper Webster. Webster trying that one down the inside. Did not work. Just enough room being left there for Hampstead. He maintains control for the moment, but again, it will be about when is that chance coming? But it's not happening right now, and they'll have traffic just in front of them.
Yeah, they certainly will. It's Bailey Frid in the number 5, just up ahead of our 2 leaders as we have the picture-in-picture focusing on the lead battle and the battle for third on back. Jordan Caruso starting to jet up to the back of these guys, and Joshua Anderson might see a bit of redemption here after falling off the back of them, coming off lap 2 or lap 3. You see Jake Burton lurking in the background there in the dark VRS-sponsored machine at the top of your screen too. This is going to be very tight. And our leaders a bit spaced further apart now as Bailey Frid goes into the pit lane. He saw the leaders coming and decided to just jump out of the way completely.
Wise decision. Do not get involved in a lead battle like this between Hampstead and Webster, who want in. Scott now has mirrors full of Myers as well in the battle 4th and 5th, as Caruso now under pressure. Has he just jumped the chicane a little bit perhaps? Because through will go Burton and also Griffin Gardner picking up a couple places. So Jordan Caruso maybe making a small mistake, which really does compound things as he goes through. Christensen still in his fight in the 13th place train.
Yeah, Job Stewart has been unstoppable there in that train, just holding everyone up as Webster gets close to Hampstead again in the second chicane of the lap. Loses out a bit on the exit. Richard Hampstead, it seems, very good on throttle control in those corners that really open up around this circuit. So Webster's going to have to find a different way through at some point. Got a double view there, looking back from Richard Hampstead and forward from Cooper Webster. Potentially having a look at how both drivers tackle this circuit. Nice clean line into the hairpin, and let's see if Webster nails it this time. But Hampstead goes a little bit wider. That's an attribute of that hairpin. You see how much the track widens on the exit. You can get on the throttle a little bit sooner and carry a bit more momentum.
Apologies to anyone there who may be photosensitive. It might have been wise to have averted your eyes a little bit at that moment, but we still got a little bit more action coming up then as they charge through here on lap 9 to start the 10th lap of 58 right now. Brady Myers is there as we focus now on what is Tom Freer and Andrew Gilliam, the two drivers who were at one point expected to be teammates going into endurances in 2020. So of course Andrew Gilliam went to the moon and picked up race victories. Tom Freer couldn't find race finishes to save his cotton socks, but now they fight together on circuit together in the scrap 15th, and there is the mistake. Christensen will get shuffled out of the way. Freer will now shuffle himself out of the way as well, and Tom Freer here might have a chance through on Ben Christensen into that next section. He's not going to give it up hard and fast, but he knows that he has no choice in this matter. Now it's Thomas's turn here in the ERT machine.
Yeah, right into the bumper of Ben Christensen and having a little peek at the chicane. He has got Chris Coxhead and Sam Blacklock with the recovering Emily Jones there for very good company. So the battle continues, and Andrew Gilliam just skipping away from these drivers out in front. You just see him there at the bottom of the screen. He is absolutely loving all of this fighting going on behind.
Oh, you bet. Oh, you bet indeed. And these fights, these little scraps, every time you get an opportunity to close down, you take it hand over fist. There is Caruso in ninth position, as this is going to be a very interesting battle. Just hearing a little bit of word there over the race control. I believe someone's trying to gain position back there through the stewards, but I'm not quite too sure about what was just said. But for the moment at least, Caruso wants 8th place back, and quickly, because that's Jake Maloney just behind, who will definitely want to try and get through.
Yes, indeed, and Jake Maloney, definitely a driver who should not be underestimated. Caruso trying his best to jet up to the back of Griffin Gardner here and potentially get 8th spot. And, Gardner has quite the gap ahead there to Jake Burton, so goal number 1 for Jordan Caruso is to remove this car from in front of him and try and get a good run of pace going, as we are on lap 11, just saying, and...
Looks like it's Michael Taniancic there, potentially there, Reese,
right,
who has been ordered to redress a position.
Indeed, so there we go, position redressed there, I believe. So, what I was going to say is, lap 11, well, you said that drivers were talking about lap 12 being the time for the first stop, so let's see what our leaders do as they come up to the final chicane.
Here on the brakes then goes Hampstead and Webster here as they charge on through. There's two schools of thought. The earliest point you can go is lap 12 and make 2 stops work quite nicely. Most drivers will be thinking about lap 16, 17, 18 maybe is their best place, because they can even out the stints as much as they possibly can over the course of racing action. So on the brakes they will charge then into that final chicane. No takers then from those two out in front. And there's dramas. That is Christensen and that is Thomas down at the hairpin.
Oh dear, something's gone on between those drivers. We'll get a Virtual Racing School replay of that one. Big thanks to Virtual Racing School for your support of this series. Definitely helps with working out strategy numbers, and you see a move from the Altus car behind, and well, looks like Thomas, I think, just tipping Christensen around. The Altus car there, the 219, I believe that's Zach Hanlon, not involved in that at all.
I just think that's a case of Ben Christensen leaving his flank exposed a little bit there, and he's been caught napping slightly. There's a car down the inside, and the moment he's gone to turn, oh wait, there's a car down the inside. Oh wait, I'm backwards. What on earth has just happened here? And that's always going to be a little bit of a drama point as things happen. So, Hampstead, Webster, Down, Scott, Myers, Anderson, Burton, Gardner, Caruso, Maloney. Your top 10 here on lap 12 of 58. Here at the wonderful circuit Gilles Villeneuve at this moment in time. Everybody in a very important battleground. The top 12 split right now by 8.5 seconds out here on circuit as they continue their scraps and try and gain their positions. The key for their races here today right now though, Reese, work out when's the right time to make that first stop, and more crucially than that, have I got track position that gives me exactly what I need, because this is a very flexible window out here for these drivers.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think the driver in third, Madison Down, having made his way past James Scott on a previous lap, is right in the box seat to gain the most time out of a stop. He's got quite a gap ahead to Hampstead and Webster here that he can use to maximize that pit entry.
And that pit entry is key. Track position is vital here in terms of going in for your pit stop. You want to be as aggressive as possible on the brakes, trying to make sure you get in, because you have a little bit of leeway if you are in front compared to if you are behind, as they charge into the second chicane out there on track and work their way forward towards the third chicanes at turn 8 and 9 out there on circuit. There is Chris Coxhead in 17th position. He's got eyes on Sam Blacklock there in the 215 Altus Esports car. And behind that, you've got Emily Jones there. She's an 18th. That is not Griffin Gardner, sorry. That is Corey Shepherd trying to make a move down the inside in the background in the Mr. Antenna car. He can't miss it, but he did miss it because he missed the move on Andrew Dyson, who's in 20th place.
Indeed, and Dyson following the line of the circuit, little flicker of the brakes coming into the chicane, and Shepherd nails the exit there, gains a slight advantage on the number 41, but it's a bit far back from here to make a move into the hairpin.
Josh Thomas, then, the ERT driver, has been given a penalty here by the stewarding team after the contact with Ben Christensen at the hairpin on lap 11. So that will be having to be served in the very near future, because that is not ideal. Now, you've got a very interesting situation because Josh Anderson has actually just lost the place to Jake Burton over the course of that last lap. I'm trying to look back and see exactly where he has managed to get that, and he's done it around the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, wow, good stuff there from Jake Burton. I mean, we talked about that in Split 2, how you can potentially go side by side for the first turn as Josh Thomas takes his penalty. Jake Burton now crucially ahead of Josh Anderson. He can start making some inroads on the top 5 battle just up ahead. Myers, Scott and Down all running line astern right now.
They certainly are, and every single battle is going to be key here as they try and work a way forward. Someone who's been shuffled back a little bit in the back of the top 10, start of the top 12, is Brett Loxton, who is now down into 12th place. Purdy is now up into 11th place here in this one. You can see how much time he has just lost there. He's lost a couple seconds or so over the last lap and a little bit. So work to be done then for Brett, who of course a couple years ago got a P2 finish here at Montreal. It's one of his favourite circuits he goes out there here and races with. But the key is, it's the first round of the season, so you either have it or you don't.
Indeed, and it looks like he doesn't have it at the moment. I saw him going through the turn 8 and 9 chicane very ragged, as there's still no takers on pit lane just yet. It looks like they're trying to extend their stints out a bit here. Dyson and Shepherd, meanwhile, side by side down the back straight, and Shepherd with the advantage slots in ahead of Dyson and immediately going defensive. Dyson has no response to that at all. So Corey Shepherd carrying a bit of damage on his car already, working his way forward as Hobson is the first regular pit stop of the night.
Hobo88 dives in at the end of lap 14 and says, I am going for the biggest undercut of anybody. Try and stop me in terms of this race. So what can Hobo do to gain those places? Brenton Hobson, as he looks to try and push forward. There you can see on screen the battle for third and fourth position at this stage between Madison Down and James Scott. Brady Myers is there in the background, wanting places at this moment in time, but there are no guarantees as of yet that that is going to be a position made. But you have to say at this stage, James Scott wants to be up there and challenging with those at the very, very top. He was just on the cusp of picking up consistent victories, but podiums, I think, will be on the offing for James Scott. That's what he wants more than anything else. And on top of that, he's been doing a little bit of work with the NSR esports team as well to find them a little bit of pace also. So James Scott hoping for pace, hoping for time. Fourth place right now. He's on the outside of the podium looking in.
Indeed he is, but you saw how big of a pressure he was putting on Madison Down into the hairpin. I reckon if he sorts himself out on the exit of the corner before he certainly has a chance of getting his way through. Andrew Gilliam back up into P13 now. He's continuing to slowly climb back up the field, and hopefully for him, he'll be able to get back into the top 10 pretty soon.
And pretty soon he'll be hoping. He's in 13th place right now in the 201 machine here, and he knows that he's been very much battered about here and there. Emily Jones makes the call to dive down on the lane. She does in a number 51 McLaren Shadow car here. That Holden deciding to make its way down this pit, looking for the box. There it is. And now it's all about attacking with the pit crew and getting yourself back out and again here with a good opportunity to gain places. This is going to be a case of now which one of the leaders wants to decide to make that call to dive down onto the lane, because 7 seconds right now is all that splits first from 9th place at the moment in this one, as we focus on Dyson and Corey Shepherd, 18th and 19th position. Every single second matters right now in this sort of race, as I've just seen a shot to the back then from, I believe that is going to be Myers on the back of James Scott as they push forward. Then Brady wants through on his former teammate, and he's not getting the easiest ride of things to get through because he's losing time to the driver in front, Madison Down. I wonder if he's trying to think about pit lane. Well, still no takers then from the leaders.
It's interesting to note, it looks like the Altus cars in the top 5 starting to fall off a bit in terms of pace, particularly James Scott. We saw Madison Down get by him just a lap or two ago, and he's really dropped back from Down and into the clutches of Myers. And for that lead battle, Cooper Webster, he's fallen back from Richard Hampstead just a little bit. The gap is at 0.6 of a second between the two of them. So as Corey Shepherd goes for his first pit stop of the night, I think that that Altus might have set their cars up to be quickest in the first few laps of the stint.
I think they have, and you've also got the likes of Thomas Hinds there diving in for the Henry James Racing team then, in as we look at the Super Split 2 winner. This is Sean Linsell then under a big battle here with Clint Shane Smith for the Delta Sport U4K team as he goes through here the next right-hand bend of turn 2 out of the centre S and looking to attack forward here in this one. Nothing doing right now, but it's a bit of a DPR sandwich there with the driver right behind.
It is indeed, and Linsell has done quite a good job so far, working his way up from that last place starting position, made his way through the chaos of lap 1, and Clint Smith at the moment doesn't have much of a response, slightly ragged on the exit of the chicane there. But that battle is going to continue for quite some time until the pit stops come around. Our leaders just going past the final corner now, not taking the pit lane again.
No, top 5 all stay out, top 7 all stay out, top 9, top 11 all stay out. Brett Loxton stays out then in 12th position then and decides that he wants to continue on his run. What a great shot that is, the final chicane, and just how committed they are. Every time I look at Richard Hampstead, as in comes Tom Freer to make his stop, and he's going to be very swiftly followed by someone going very quick into the lane there behind. Every time I watch Richard Hampstead through that corner there, that final section, I am scared to pretty much every bone in my body that he is going to clatter into that wall.
Yeah, the Trans-Tasman cars are very aggressive over those curbs at the final chicane, aren't they? They're hopping over it like they want to grow wings and fly away. But evidently, it seems to be working out for them. They are playing with fire, though, because one little mistake can really stymie your run. Lee Ellis also joining Andrew Dyson and Tom Freer in the pit lane. Dyson is already away, and it looks like he's going to nab Tom Freer there in the pits.
That looks like he has short-fueled the car then, if that is the case, as he wants to be aggressive on this strategy and make sure he's got enough fuel margin here compared to a lot of other drivers at this stage. I'm just keeping an eye out on Purdy and Maloney and Gardner and Caruso. They're all starting to fall in on each other at the moment, and that could be a 4-car battle that does start to grow in the future as once more they continue on looking for maybe lap 20 out there in this race to give themselves the result they want. And I think none of them want to make the first move at this stage. They'll continue to let the fuel tanks drain here potentially here, Reese, until someone has to make a move, if not all of them.
Well, they've got until about lap 23 to do it. That's how long the tank lasts
Maloney.
with this fuel tank restriction.
And I believe Jake Maloney here has just dropped the position to Blake Purdy. That may be a slowdown penalty for being too aggressive over the first part of the chicane. So Maloney drops a place. Adam Briggs dives down into the place, but Maloney now back in 11th place and a long way back off of Purdy.
Yeah, that's a big shame there for Maloney. He was showing hints of moving further into the top 10, but once again, the slowdowns bite very hard here at Montreal. You got to be on your A game the whole time. Andrew Dyson and Corey Shepherd, meanwhile, Andrew Dyson, of course, just come out of the pits.
Ooh,
Shepherd looking for the move.
John Stone, look at where he is. He's parked right on the outside. I think his engine may have gone, and that might just throw a safety car into the works here. And that is right in front of the leaders, who will go by that and stay narrow. And now we could be in a really tough situation here as the first pit stop. As they've all gone by that, I would not be surprised. There's the safety car starting to think about going here. But I'm sure everyone's going to dive into the pit. Safety car then, I'm pretty sure, is about to be deployed. And I think everyone, if you're wise, you dive in now. And they don't. Madison Down, though, does. The leading two don't. What a bold call. Scott's been caught out by it as well. He wasn't expecting it. Everybody, it's a pit party.
It is indeed. In they go. My goodness. Madison Down timed that perfectly, entered the pits just as the safety car was called. He's going to gain a massive advantage out of that. He's joined in the pits by Stenberg, Myers, Burton, Anderson, Caruso, Gardner, Purdy, Maloney, Loxton, Gilliam, Stewart, Blacklock, and Coxhead. They're getting followed in there by Jamie Stovold and Darren Lobb. A free pit stop, certainly good, but it's put our leaders in trouble.
Oh, bet it has as well, because you look at those drivers here who do need to come down in, who do need that pit stop, and you just get a little think and focus. Only 3 drivers did not pit and come down in, aside from Zach Hanlin, who is in 4th position. Hamstead, Webster, and Scott. And you'd have to say, for James Scott to stay out there, that's brave, because you see Madison Down dive in, someone who is probably the most opportune driver out there, who has seen almost every style of sim racing, a 10-time champion when it has come to the official series on iRacing. He is someone who can, time and again, work the tides and put himself in position. You don't follow him, you're brave.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm thinking that either Altus Esports shaking their heads in frustration, or they're looking to go for the pits now, and they are. Hamstead and Webster go in. James Scott follows them in. So the safety car is likely going to pick up Madison Down.
Likely, but we'll see here as they run through. Remember, they have spent that lap not under safety car conditions. Well, they are, as there goes the safety car right now, just sitting and waiting here for the right driver to pick up. Madison Down is down at the hairpin right now, and these drivers are just about getting their service as they sit and wait. There goes Nick Parker then in the safety car. He's waiting to pick up the right driver as he now leaves pit lane and looks to try and pick things up on lap 21, right in the middle of the first pit stop window. It forces the hands of a lot of drivers here to work out where they need to be, right place, right time. Down going through then the final chicanes. We look at the back end there of the Oceanic Sim Racing machine. Where are the rivals? Out and away goes Corey Preston. Out and away goes Richard Hamstead. But look at how close it's going to be as they come to pit exit. They have got away with one then as they stayed out an extra lap. Someone who didn't was James Scott, because look at him. He is now dropped behind Brady Myers, and it's going to be very close whether he drops behind Anderson. In fact, he chooses to drop behind Josh Anderson.
Well, pit stop time there for James Scott, 32.8 seconds. Madison Down, meanwhile, stopped for 31 seconds. And the one of the quickest pit stops there out of the top 5, Anderson, with a 29.7 second stop time. So, once again, it seems Richard Hamstead and Cooper Webster have gotten away with it here, but they got Madison Down right on the back of them, and the restart is going to be one where Down is right on the attack, looking to secure the 1-2. And you see right there, that is how close it was between James Scott and Josh Anderson. It looks like Scott was ahead at the exit.
Well, this is the key that will have to be looked at by race control. We've got it paused right there, as it should be a case of, Scott should be in front of Anderson then. So the stewards make the right call, as they have all the replays in the world to give themselves the opportunity. So he gains the place and retains 5th position overall, but crucially lost the place in the stops by going that extra lap, not diving down into the pits the same way that Madison Down did. That mistake would have been mitigated had he had just stayed in. There is the stricken car of Damien Johnstone. One thing we haven't seen is how Damien Johnstone has got into that position and has got himself in trouble. I wonder if we can try and source a replay of what happened to Damien Johnstone to put that into perspective, Reese.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to rewind myself and have a look. It's going to take a while because he has been stopped there quite some time, but I'm thinking it might have been contact with another car because there's quite a bit of damage on that thing there for Damien Johnstone.
So this is going to be a very key point. So let's settle down here and see exactly where we are. We'll get to that in just a little bit here, Reese, but it's Richard Hampstead who has the lead. Cooper Webster in 2nd, Madison Down 3rd, Brady Myers in 4th, and it's James Scott then who rounds the top 5. The car is effectively cleared. He's been given the all clear to escape the cars. Next lap he will get himself then into position, and they will get themselves into position maybe for racing again. But Reese, what happened to Damien Johnstone?
Engine blew on the exit of the turn 8 and 9 chicane. Just on the upshift, there was a big puff of smoke from the engine and the car died. Johnstone attempted to go around the hairpin, but ended up coming to a standstill on the exit. So that's what happened to him. Something that you always have to look out for in these cars is if your car gets too damaged, if your cooling gets some damage to it, you have to really be mindful of your engine temperatures, because once a car goes pop, that's it.
Okay, we're just having a look at this. This is the 208 and the 718, so Corey Shepherd and Chris Coxhead. And you can see Coxhead ahead then of Corey Shepherd on pit exit. That means that Chris Coxhead, will be ahead of Corey Shepherd, and they have already reverted those positions. It's very important that everyone is in the right possible position after they come out of the pits to make sure they have the opportunity to get themselves in the right position. So we'll keep an eye out on all of those changes that are going on. But every lap that they now spend under this safety car period right now, Reese, is an opportunity to save a little bit of fuel, to extend a little bit longer in terms of their strategy, and maybe, just maybe, be more aggressive on that final stop of the day.
Yes, indeed. The critical lap would have been lap 35, assuming normal running, but now, with all of this happening with the safety car, that's going to be pushed out a bit. I reckon we're going to be seeing drivers at the front extending this middle stint as much as they can and going for the splash and dash at the end. I mean, about 3.8 to 3.9 litres per lap when you're running flat out. These drivers won't be using anywhere near that, probably less than a litre a lap. They're all in 6th gear. They're all clutching it into the corners. So that is potentially a full second or more at the final pit stop.
Talk about gainers in the pit stops. You've got Gardner up to 7th. Blake Purdy started 20th. He is in 8th place on this restart, with Jake Burton in the number 8 machine just behind. He is the biggest mover and shaker inside of the top 17, at least in this field. And in fact, the biggest movers and shakers all throughout the field have gained 12 places overall today. So now there is more to come along. Lap 23 coming on. Here's the restart set off by Richard Hampstead, and he'll look to attack and get himself going here. The green flag will drop once again. We are racing again here at Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, and it is Cooper Webster wanting to attack. Madison down, going deep, and a spinner already. That's Thomas Hinds and Adam Briggs as well.
Oh dear, that's happened on the run up to the final chicane. Glenn Postlethwaite's been involved in that as well as Adam Briggs. So there's been obviously a huge check up there. Not quite sure what's going on. It looks like there might have been a miscommunication in the field. Yeah, Chris Coxhead jumped on the brakes, and that concertinaed him back into everyone. So a bit of an error there on the restart, getting some casualties in the midfield. But the top 3 battle is well and truly alive once again as they come down the back straight towards turns 8 and 9. Madison down, putting the pressure on Cooper Webster. He wants that 1-2 for his team.
You have to remember, Cooper Webster is putting the pressure on Richard Hampstead, and he wants position 1 for his team out there on track. No surprises there. That's what they all race for, a race win. Overall, on the brakes, into the hairpin, they go along, and look how deep on the brakes they all go. Bump to the back then from James Scott in 5th place. That was to the rear of Brady Myers in 4th as they charge on forward. Look at how congested it gets. A little bit back, so we take an eye on the replay here. This is what happened then. So Coxhead thinks, okay, we're getting the all clear, all go ahead as they jam on the brakes, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we're in trouble, and Hinds doesn't quite hold the brakes, and that causes pandemonium there on backwards, as I believe here comes a move down the inside from Brenton Hobson and go, and oh my goodness me, Brett Loxton there having Job Stewart for a bit of company. Nearly got a quarter panel of dice, and the Shepherd picks one up.
Indeed he did, and almost a move
there.
No, there's contact, and Job Stewart sent spearing off the circuit, rejoins right in the middle of turn 1. Corey Shepherd trying his best to find a spot to get back on there. That's at least 3 positions lost. And Job Stewart, difficult to get going again, has to find himself a little spot there out on track as Sam Blacklock tries on Chris Coxhead through the chicane. A little bit less downforce on the rear for that Altus Mustang as well. Oh, just behind Jamie Stovall, having to take a bit of avoiding action versus Lee Ellis, sticking his nose in there meanwhile is the 109 of Darren Lobb.
Well, have a lob, why don't you, down the inside as he tries to pick this one up. Not going to happen, but that's all not working well. Job Stewart will call race control here. Why? Because he needed to serve a slowdown penalty. Got drilled in the back, not once but twice, by Brett Loxton, as well as everything that's gone on. Now look at the front of Brett Loxton's Zuva racing machine right now, part of the HJR team. You can see it's okay for the moment, but he's probably got a bit of damage on the front clip maybe hanging off a little bit then as he tries to get himself through, as he does run wide there through the hairpin and open up a couple things there as they continue. All positions as are for the moment. Top 3 sandwich as they go through.
And starting to break away from the drivers pursuing. Brady Myers is trying his best to latch onto the back of this train. He's got James Scott for very close company, along with Josh Anderson, who remains in position 6. Lap times then, it looks like the top 5, all pretty even. Webster was a 10th faster than Hampstead on that last lap. Look out for him. Jake Burton, meanwhile, has got his mirrors full of Jordan Caruso.
Yeah, Blake Purdy's now up into 7th position, 135 flat on that last run around, so he's definitely gaining. It's Griffin Gardner, the big loser. He's now all the way back down in 13th position then off of the start, so he's definitely dropped down and lost out over the course of a couple laps. It was a slowdown penalty that cost him all of those positions, but Jordan Caruso then in 9th on the recovery has got to find a way past Jake Burton, who, when he wants to be, he can be a prickly thorn bush to try and get past.
Absolutely, and you only have to look at Watkins Glen in 2019 for that. Burton putting on one of the most magnificent defensive drives ever, which certainly raised a few eyebrows and ruffled a few feathers as on board with Webster through the hairpin. You saw the wheel work as they struggle to get on the power. These things produce 650 horsepower, and it goes equally through both rear wheels. There's Corey Shepherd there putting a move on at the 554 at the hairpin. Another position for him.
Yeah, that's Sean Linsell then in the Alco Holder DPR machine, and he has done well just to lose only that 1 place as Lee Ellis wants top 20 land. He thinks about it, but nope, he's not going to get there against Job Stewart. You're going to have a very tough day. There's your leading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the background as they start to charge here on lap 26 of 58. It's a little bit like one of those NASCAR stage races at the moment. We've had the first stint. We know who the winner was of that. So now let's go on to the second one. Hampstead then doing just enough to maintain control. He started 3rd position on the grid as we get this fantastic scenic shot of everybody making their charge on through, and now in towards that second chicane there at 6 and 7, which can very easily be an overtaking place. But what is key is now what can you do in the next stage of this one. You've got to settle down once again into a rhythm, which they'll be doing so right now. And if you're going to take places, you're going to have to take them early, because Cooper Webster here has probably spent the entirety of this race looking at the back of Richard Hampstead.
Yeah, and it's a frustrating place to be if you're a driver like Cooper Webster. You want to be able to just send it up the inside and get it done, but he can't afford to do it too early. As, oh, wow, hello. Going up the inside of Brady Myers as James Scott at the hairpin, a change for position there. And keep an eye out for Blake Purdy just behind these guys, because he was 2/10 faster in the last lap. Very close quarters through the kink down the back straight. James Scott, side-by-side contact. They bang mirrors, and that's a lock-up for James Scott, almost overshooting the hairpin. Brady Myers saw it coming and lets him go, but that's going to open the door to Josh Anderson coming into turn one, and Mr. Purdy looking to go for it as well.
Well, he tried to shut the door here, but the door is wide open. Side by side, the two teammates go then for Trans-Tasman as they try and work it out together. Purdy trying around the outside. Burton, the opportunist, trying to go through. 3 wide on the exit. This is very, very dicey. Burton's got the lane and the drive on the inside, and he won't lift out. Yes, he does even in the end. Purdy's now going to go for the inside. What a commitment. Shoves out to dry, and Burton is in the fence as they go on through. Just like that. 3 wide opportunity, and Burton, who thought he had all the opportunities and he was the most cunning fox, finds out that there was someone in the chicken coop.
And it was a very small chicken coop there through the turns 3 and 4 chicane. Get a replay of that one. Burton having to go all the way to the inside because Myers forced Anderson wide at turn 1. That's what started all of this. Purdy goes through on Anderson and sends him out wide. And Burton, well, if he wanted to stay on track, he had absolutely nowhere to go. And a big hit with the wall. That's going to play havoc with the right front suspension.
It certainly is. Now Burton's got to try and work out how much damage A does he have, and B can he repair at the final stop here without losing too much time. You can see big opposite lock then as he goes through. Doesn't look like there's too much wheel decentralizing there as he goes through. Maybe there's a little bit that's making things a bit awkward for him on the front right, but he might have just about got away with that one potentially with that sort of hit. He's got Emily Jones just behind, of course, a driver that Mr. Burton knows very, very well, and Emily definitely having a very good run to recover up right now. She is now in 12th position, trying to move on forward in this race. But the keys now are about just keeping calm, because that would have just G'd up and jostled up everyone in the mid-pack. Purdy, mind you, started 20th, is now in 6th.
And he's got a great run of pace as well. He's been lapping generally faster than the likes of Josh Anderson and Brady Myers. He's putting on an absolutely fantastic run here. And Purdy is another one of those pursuit drivers that we see knocking on the door of great success in this series. Flying the flag solo up there since Andrew Gilliam is mired back in P10. We'll see if Gilliam can advance forward.
Got other battles as well. Chris Coxhead is thinking about a move on Andrew Dyson for 15th place. That's a little bit further down the pack, and they are side by side right now as Purdy is there in 6th, chasing at the moment. Position changes then in the background then through the 3rd chicane, but ultimately right now you would definitely say that this mid-pack is the one to keep an eye out on. This one now extending back from Josh Anderson in 7th position, all looking to try and gain positions, gain places. There is Loxton. He is also through on Andrew Dyson, picking that one up. So both Zuba cars then will have to work together to charge their way back through the field.
Yeah, a couple of issues there for Andrew Dyson. Might have gotten a slowdown at the turn 8 and 9 chicane as we check out this fight here. Blake Purdy continuing to try and close in on Brady Myers, and again Purdy was faster than Myers by less than a 10th, but still quicker as Andrew Dyson's having another go here at Brett Loxton coming into turn 1. Can Loxton hold it around the outside? He tries, but no. Whoa, good stuff there for Brett Loxton to get on the anchors.
Thread the needle, why don't you? Sam Blacklock, no spoiler on the back of his V8. He is finding himself now in a position where he knows what he wants, and he is doing quite well. So there is Maloney in 13th. That's Griffin Gardner, actually, just dropping the position almost to Emily Jones, but we'll catch something like this on that virtual racing school replay. That's Maloney, in fact, dropping the position, as he had to serve himself a little bit of a slowdown penalty there, and it's not the first time he's been a little bit too liberal with the lines, but now getting himself into a little bit of an awkward situation. Again, I've got to slow down. I haven't served all of it, and that's a little bit of a problem scenario right now. Worth keeping an eye out on Jordan Caruso here in 8th place, Reese, because he's trying to get through. Loxton's got, a bit of fun. Biff, Boff and Baff, they're all there together. Job Stewart deciding to muscle his way through.
Yeah, that was a bit of a messy incident down there at the hairpin. Jamie Stovald also gaining a position out of that, and I believe Andrew Dyson has left that Zuva car behind as well. That car in between him and Coxhead certainly going to help him out. The lead battle, though, is starting to close up once again. Cooper Webster is doing what he did in the opening laps and just keeping Hampstead honest here, keeping the gap at just a few tenths of a second between them.
Do you know what the issue is here with Cooper Webster? It's simple. It's a numbers game. He is outnumbered in front and behind. Hampstead there in the lead. Madison down there in third. James Scott is 2.4 seconds down the road and no help to him right now. The key here is that Trans-Tasman have all the options in the playbook available, and Webster's got to find the best one, and he's only got one choice.
Yeah, indeed. He's got to keep as close to Hampstead as he can, try and move in the final few laps, or hopefully undercut him at the pit stop as we ride on board with Jamie Stovald making his way down the back stretch. He's got Andrew Dyson just up ahead of him, and he's right in the middle of a huge pack that stretches back for Loxton, Ellis, Lobb, Christensen and Hanlon. Corey Shepherd still recovering from the incidents that he's had before, right on the back of that train looking to jet up to it.
Yeah, of course, that train is very much starting to close on in. A lot of drivers thinking about recovery at this stage and gaining some times. There is Brenton Hobson, who of course was a very staunch pitter earlier on. He now finds himself in 14th place overall. He's definitely profiteered then from not needing to come down and make that pit stop the way that everyone else potentially has to, and his teammate Glenn Postlethwaite has just come into YouTube chat and asked if it's time for a beer. Mr. Postlethwaite, please drink responsibly. I have to say that it's my duty as a broadcaster. Tom Freer and Clint Shane Smith then in a battle for 27th and 28th place. Smith thinking that he's got an opportunity right now. Not close enough just yet, but there's still time on the horizon. A full 28 laps worth.
Yes, indeed. And oh no, that's a slowdown there for Job Stewart. He falls all the way back into 22nd place as a result. And man, as the fatigue sets in, these drivers are racing for quite a long time in what are considered some of the hardest cars to drive on the iRacing service. You really start to lose sight of what you need to do to be careful around here as Anderson and Caruso continue to fight for 7th and 8th. I do want to make a note about Richard Hampstead. I was watching him at the end of last lap. He ran a bit wide out of the final chicane and clattered the wall at the Wall of Champions ever so slightly. Didn't lose any time to Cooper Webster, but still, shades of a mistake there from the race leader. It might be getting to him too.
Very easily could do, and they're on such finite margins. It's very easy to just push a little bit too hard, hit the wall. You can see again, millimeter accuracy almost every lap. He gets close to, if not brushes it, every time he goes on by, and that is going to be concerning for those who want to follow him, because if you want to go quicker than me through that section, either you've got to have a great entry to that corner, or you're going to clatter that wall a little bit harder than I did, which is always going to be a little bit of a difficult situation. Every battle right now is starting to form into their own little battle packs. We focus on Job Stewart here in 22nd position right now, trying to think about a way past the simracing.com DPR machine just in front, and no dice just yet. Big little wiggle there, but a wiggle there on the exit nevertheless from the DPR car there just in front. Darren Lobb, I do believe that is, and it's always going to be tough. Try and make sure that you stay in position, especially when you've got drivers searching around the circuit in front of you. Speaking of searching, that was the Zuva car trying to find a way through there. Brett Loxton.
Indeed, Brett Loxton still trying to get past Jamie Stovall here because Andrew Dyson is starting to skip away from him. Remember, Dyson and Loxton battling hard just a few laps before, but Jamie Stovall is pretty staunch in his defence so far. Loxton just not able to find a way past at the moment.
Speaking of defence, James Scott is a cork in the bottle right now for 4th place back. Brady Myers is frustrated with his former teammate because look who they've allowed onto the back. That is Blake Purdy, who wants to put himself in position, and I think that Darren Lobb isn't quite too happy at this stage as we keep a little eye on the virtual racing school replay here and see how this is all going about. This is Job Stewart, who has a tendency to be aggressive. He's a karter. He knows exactly what he needs to do. On the brakes that they go, he lunges for the inside and the door just shuts on him as he goes through, and there's the contact, gets a push, and he loses 2 places, so effectively he does redress it.
Indeed he does. There was contact there with Lee Ellis that Job Stewart made at the hairpin, and it looks like Job is back past Lee Ellis now, having passed him, I believe, on the back straight coming up to the final couple of corners. Here's Maloney once again. Suffered a few slowdowns in this one. He's on the back foot and looking to move forward, and Griffin Gardner just up ahead. In terms of lap times, a 36.3 for Griffin Gardner, a 36.28 for Jake Maloney. So there's potential there for the move to be made.
There certainly is, and that potential is going to become a vital point here in this race. Look at Myers, though, here in 5th position. Again, has to take the wider arc through the corner, and now he's got to be a little bit alert to where he places the car, because he's stuck in what I love to call Schrodinger's overtake. He must attack and defend here, Reese, at exactly the same time.
Absolutely. It's being in the middle of a 3-car battle is not always the best place to be. A slight look there from the Trans-Tasman racing car as James Scott, nice and clean through the chicane. The Altus cars obviously much calmer over the bumps there than the Trans-Tasman machines. They've got to be careful because Blake Purdy running 0.2 faster than both of these guys on the last lap. He is a really big threat for the position.
And this is not the first time that Blake Purdy has done really well here at this Gilles Villeneuve circuit. I believe it was a couple of years ago that he put himself up in and around the top 10. It may have even been 8th place that he finished on that day. We'll have to get someone to check that out in terms of the stats and relay it back to us. But really, Blake Purdy is showing that he is not one to sit down. He's not a bit part player. He wants to be up there and remembered there at the Pursuit Sim Racing team. And when every other driver has run into troubles, Andrew Gilliam, Job Stewart, who are the 2 stalwarts you'd say of that team, Blake Purdy has stepped up to the plate today, gaining 14 places so far.
And he could gain another because Brady Myers had a big oversteer moment on the exit of turn 9 there. And up the inside, the opportunity is seen there for Blake Purdy. Forces his way up the inside, contact side by side with Brady Myers, but nails the throttle coming out of the hairpin and avoids wheel spin over the curb. A great move there from Blake Purdy.
Not done, though. Look at that. He does lose the toe, and Myers is thinking the inside. No, go the other way. It's not going to work. He gets 2 tyres on the grass as he goes through. Blake Purdy pushing every single limit and holds the place as he goes by. Myers will be incensed. He's not used, maybe, to fighting Blake Purdy that hard, but this is a different Blake Purdy here today. He is charging. He's inside the top 5 then, and this is the moment where you say that he is going to race tooth and nail, and he has now got himself a big train behind him because Anderson and Caruso now both join up onto the rear.
Final pit stop might be an issue for Purdy, though. The fact that he has managed to work himself up as far as he has, I'm concerned that his final pit stop might just drop him back. The lead battle, though, is, well, it's same story as always. Cooper Webster on the back of Richard Hamstead, almost to the point that he's putting Morse code on the bumper, but I think right now he's just sending out radio signals.
Well, if it is Morse code on the back bumper, I think it reads, if you run your hand over in Braille, let me through, please. And it's not quite working for Cooper Webster right now. He's looked every which way. He's looked here, he's looked there, he's looked everywhere. He's looked in every Dr. Seuss book for a rhyme that works, and it simply put has not happened just yet. The good news, though, that he's got is there's 1.4 seconds back, or now 1.3 seconds to Madison Down in third position. So he's got a little bit of a breather in that respect.
Yeah, just a bit. Madison Down, of course, pitting under the safety car, and I think with everyone doing that, there's no sort of difference in the grip of the tyres between these guys. Madison Down has the tyres in pretty much the same condition that Richard Hampstead has, but for some reason, he's just lost out on pace in this middle stage of the race. And Hampstead and Webster still setting the pace up the front.
They are still setting pace, and you've also got every battle going on behind, which certainly does meet an interesting tale. No dice then into 3 and 4. Into the pits then comes Brenton Hobson. No surprises, didn't take the stop. Shepherd behind as well, dives down into the pits also. So we are now firmly put in the window. Lap 36 of 58. They are stopping for home as they get through. Also in Tom Freer, spinner in the background there. Is that Hanlon maybe? Who is around there? Yes, it is, in the number 024. He's had a moment down at the final chicane.
He has indeed, and that's another stab in what has been not the greatest night for Zach Hanlon, starting in 39th position, and he's suffered dramas ever since. It's opposite fortunes, though, up the front here for Cooper Webster. Madison Down was just a 10th quicker on the last lap than these guys. We might see him gain a couple more seconds as the deadline for the final pit stop comes around. Blake Purdy, on the other hand, having taken that 5th spot from Cooper Webster, he's still the cork in the bottle, and it doesn't seem like he's catching up to James Scott.
No, not yet anyway, and that's going to be key. How much tyre life has he used to try and make that happen? Webster again unable to make anything drastic happen in terms of that little move, and everyone behind is in scraps, and that is Anderson slowing then on the front stretch, and that's the worst place because that's 4 seconds that you lose cutting that chicane. He will drop behind Andrew Gilliam, and now you got Burton, Jones and Gardner with Maloney on the back, and Anderson will feel very, very frustrated at that not quite playing out the way he wants to. One less to pressure Blake Purdy.
Yeah, one less, and I think Purdy will be loving that. It looks like it happened at the right-hander coming up in the final chicane for Josh Anderson back into 9th, as we saw a couple other cars there down on the lane. Ben Christensen and Lee Ellis currently in there at the moment, and Zach Hanlon too.
Yes, and those drivers in, and that's Bradley Vaughan. Very, very slow as he goes through, drops a position then to one of the Trans-Tasman machines, probably Lee Ellis there, who's trying to make progress through. I'm not quite too sure, but there's Hampstead and co. Sorry, no, that's lap traffic then going through. So Hampstead then deciding that he wants to go out there and do as much as he can. Look at how much torque he got on the power as he tried to jam on the exit there. There is Caruso in 8th place, and crucially, he is now behind Andrew Gilliam. So Gilliam jumped up into 7th position with a move from a slowdown penalty, cutting that 3rd chicane. So issues there as they go through. In comes Madison Down. Now the chain reaction starts.
Indeed it does. Let's see who follows him in, if any. Update on Zachary Hanlon's spin. He's asked race control to take a look at that, and Bradley Vaughan's been black flagged as a result. Vaughan was gearing up to go into the pits, while Zach Hanlon ahead of him was already on the brakes for the final chicane, so Hanlon got absolutely cleaned up.
Well, now that's going to be very interesting. We look at the Virtual Racing School replay here for you right now. This is what happened with Zach Hanlon. There you can see the number 72 of Adam Briggs there just behind, and this is where it all starts to fall apart and go
this is
wrong.
A different lap, I think.
I think it may just be a different lap then that we're looking at right now. So this is Hanlon making his progress towards that final chicane. You can see he's defending that one there on the inside, and on the brakes he goes, and he goes straight on into the pits there on that occasion. Now the question becomes here, Cooper Webster probably has to dive down in and make a stop at this stage as we try and get a focus on who we need to at this stage. There's Emily Jones in 9th position. She's trying to battle it out right now with Jake Burton in 8th place overall. But the key now is, does Webster have to cover off here Madison Down? I think he does.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Webster would have saved a bit of fuel here, extra behind Richard Hampstead there in the draft, and they're coming up to the final chicane now. But Webster, he's got a couple of issues here. He'll be hoping that Hampstead pits with him. It looks like they're both staying out here on this lap. Webster is too close to Hampstead to make a dive into pits really work.
Nice slide from Webster, just about avoids then the fabled wall as they go on through. We got in 4th position James Scott, which is now 3rd position on the road. You've got Blake Purdy there up in 4th position. You've got Myers there going through. Burton decides he wants to come in. Jake Burton, Griffin Gardner, all coming down in, making their stops in the final stage of this one, lap 39 of 58.
Let's see where they put themselves as we look at Robin Kirk and Josh Thomas. Thomas recovering from that penalty earlier on as, wow, that was close. A car coming into the pits just behind them. Looks like Michael Taliancic and Corey Preston coming in as well as Reese Keane in the DPR number 632. Here's the battle for 4th and 5th. Blake Purdy and Brady Myers together once again.
On the brakes under the bridge, which connects the St. Lawrence River and the rest of Montreal to this fantastic Gilles Villeneuve Island as they now start to push forward. Purdy here is again stuck in a very tough situation where he's got to be very alert to where he places car both in front and behind. Gilliam and Caruso are there also. It's been a great recovery by Andrew Gilliam so far in this race, but Hampstead and Webster here, now they're trying to work out when can they come down in, make their stop, get themselves out and away again. It's a case of both of them again deciding they want to stay out. They're going to run that tank to where they need to and try and run the numbers here. Scott decides it's his turn to dive down into the pits and work out that he's in the right position. So now Purdy gets a release here, can attack with Brady Myers behind. Also in, Andrew Gilliam comes in for his stop race along with the McLaren shadow car of Emily Jones.
All right, then, battle of the pit stops between these drivers as back out on track, Brett Loxton on the back of Andrew Dyson once again. They got Sam Blacklock for company just up ahead. Jones has made her way into her pit box. Chris Coxhead down into the lane as well as Job Stewart. Monitoring the pit stop times as we speak. It looks to me as though James Scott falling back down the order, down 13th, 14th, 15th. Now Madison Down has beaten him in those pit stop stakes, and just leaving his box now is Mr. Scott. So Madison Down now, you should look out for him in these final laps of the race because he's got a great opportunity here. With those fresh tyres, he can maximize his pace and potentially put himself in a position to undercut Hampstead and Webster.
2 words, Joshua Thomas. It's that simple. He has got to pass clean and effectively if he wants it. We focus on Webster and Hampstead at the moment. That's a key battle that is going on right now. And do they decide now that they have to come in and dive into the pits? Oh, that's so brave. Oh, that's fantastic there. Because you have to go in. Sometimes you have to be brave with commitment. And he chooses now, as number 37, because Madison Down is being held up right now by Josh Thomas there through that chicane. Side by side to the hairpin. They'll have to go the long road, the road hard travelled. Nope, he's going to lift out of that one. Let him have it. Wise decision. Josh Thomas, big lockup though from Madison Down on the brakes, trying to slow it down as we still got Purdy going at it with Brady Myers here. Hampstead has been left out to dry, probably will have the freshest tyres of anyone. But the key here is where do Madison Down come out in comparison? Andrew Dyson is down in on the lane as he looks to make his final stop. Caruso is in his box, as is Cooper Webster. We wait here. That's going to be Madison Down now going through the final chicane and charging down the front straight. When are you going to go? Now goes Cooper Webster, and I think that's held up, has done just enough for him here. Through turn 2, he goes along. Oh, he's overcooked it. He's in the wall. He's in the fence. Cooper Webster's thrown away the race win.
Oh my goodness. Oh, he will be banging his head on his wheel at home. Cooper Webster there just overcooking the pit lane exit. Virtual Racing School replay, and I could see it coming as he came out of the lane. He got a bit of oversteer on as he turned in to get back on the track at turn 2. This is how the race win potentially was lost for Cooper Webster. Bit of oversteer, correct, but then he gets in the grass, and from that point he was just a passenger.
Oh, he is, and there's almost a bit of contact there between Burton and Caruso as they go through. Now look at this, Purdy side by side with Brady Miles. Oh, they're going to battle into the lane. Oh, this is brilliant stuff. Now they've got to slow it down here, and I think Purdy's got the line here and the length. They will battle it out to find their boxes, and they should be okay as they go through. But that is intense between those two. Don't give him an inch, don't give him a yard. Hampstead will get the news relayed to him by someone saying, oh, that's your main rival who's been put in the wall. So now, what next?
What next indeed? Jesus H. Christmas. That was quite the battle there on pit lane entry, and I think incredibly lucky there between Webster and Hampstead. Speaking of Webster, side by side with Jake Burton down the back straight. I think Burton has already come in for his second pit stop, so this is going to be a close battle between them. Just yields there to Cooper Webster. Bit fresher tyres as Madison down goes through, and looks like Richard Hampstead just going to beat him out of the lane.
Exactly. So 1-2 at the moment. Trans-Tasman Racing. Thomas yet to come down in and make that stop. James Scott then will be effectively third at the moment in this one. Jake Maloney is probably the only driver yet to stop at this stage. He will extend out the strategy as long as he can. Out of the pits will come Brett Loxton and Sam Blacklock then, as they will be joining together on the road, just ahead of Brenton Hobson, who is out there having a good run of things. But the key right now is that Richard Hampstead can only control himself, but as we know, there ain't team orders when it comes to Trans-Tasman, and we've seen Hampstead and Madison Down have epic fights. Does Virginia International Raceway come to mind? As this is Blake Purdy then doing exactly what he needs to do, getting another place done, and now has Andrew Gilliam here for a bit of company, wanting to gain places?
Indeed, seems like it, and Blake Purdy, a very confident move there on Anderson, with Andrew Gilliam in hot pursuit in the pursuit car. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can take those positions towards the end. He started to get a good run of pace on, has Gilliam. A bit of news from Jake Burton. He's called race control's attention to an incident, I believe, between himself and Jordan Caruso. They made contact at the second chicane at turn 5. So that might be a penalty coming their way for Jordan Caruso, just muscling his way past Jake Burton, depending on what race control thinks.
Yeah, and so that is a change of positions. Josh Thomas is still out there on track right now, or he was until he came down into the pit, so he's dropped down the positions at this stage. But we've got ourselves about 16 laps then left to go here at this wonderful Montreal circuit. We'll catch this on replay then to see how this little escapade managed to present itself in towards turn 5 on the brakes, down the inside. Yep, bang, there's the contact. Pick one up, and why not? That's a position, but Burton is going to use every rule in the book to try and hold every position he can.
Indeed, Burton is not just a fast driver, but he's very meticulous about what he can and can't do. Reads the rule book like an encyclopedia as a potential move there. The position redressed actually there. Jordan Caruso letting Jake Burton back by to escape the wrath of the stewards.
Yeah, he's done very well. Now he's got to do the work all over again. And this is the key. Thinking of the inside, but he's running out of road. And there's more contact. And let's try this one again. Here we go round the Mulberry Bush, and now it's Griffin Gardner's turn to want to attack, but he's not going to get there.
Yeah, Burton just slots in ahead, and I think Burton's going to be on the blower to race control once more as a result of that. Yes, he is. He's just typed RC for the second time in the InSim text chat. So Jordan Caruso, I think, starting to get in a bit of trouble here.
And I'll tell you what, in terms of trouble, we know that Maloney's probably needing to pit pretty soon. Just looking at when he last came down into the lane and made his stops in this race, it would have been for the pit window there as he goes through. So he's really stretching this one long. So that would mean that Hampstead leads down second, Scott third, but Scott third for how much longer as we look at the replay here of what happened with Jake Burton and Jordan Caruso. Down on the brakes you go, on you try and find it, but just couldn't slow it up enough, and that's a poke through on the pass as well. But the key thing here is, with third position right now overall, which is Myers versus Scott, that's not over and done with. These two have been swapping and changing positions all race long.
They have indeed. The former teammates there. No love lost between them, certainly. Only 3/10 the gap, and James Scott just getting into the grass ever so slightly on the entry to the hairpin. You've got to be very careful down there. If you put your left-hand side wheels in that grass, then braking power is significantly reduced. We saw that happen in the V8 support series on Friday night. Now it's the draft for Brady Myers. Going to try and go up the inside of James Scott into the final chicane. The breaking point is that Dodge Bridge, and Myers is through already. Scott's been forced to go off the track, and he's going to get a massive slowdown out of that. That's going to open it up to Blake Purdy once more.
He immediately calls for race control as well. They are busy. Mike Korolev, Nick Parker, and Simon Black. They've now got a lot they've got to do. Maloney is in on the lane as he looks to take his stop. He'll be getting himself back out and going again right now. He should fall just around Jake Burton here and potentially behind Griffin Gardner. He gets himself going. He'll battle it off the exit and try and put the power down. Side by side they're going to go. Slow goes Caruso, who redresses his position, of course, as they go three wide in the section.
Oh
Bang!
my God.
There goes the dramas as they go through, all caused by the redress.
My lord, Jake Burton has had a horror run these last few laps, and getting the re-entry going had to force a couple of drivers to go wide there. I mean, what a roller coaster for Mr. Burton in the last few laps. Twice hit by the same driver, twice asked to redress by race control, and then smashed off when the redress happened.
I know, it's almost like you can't really get much worse. We catch this on the virtual racing school replay, and this is what happens. You can see he's trying to redress the position here as Caruso. He goes through, then there's the contest, the door gets slammed shut, and the key thing is Michael Korolev said, on you go 12. After that, there's nothing you can do. And now look at this here. James Scott has got himself mirrors full of Blake Purdy. Can he dive his way down the inside here into what is going to be fourth place? Oh, he's so good on the brakes there. Blake Purdy with a wonderful slide through and gains the place as well.
That was brilliantly executed from Blake Purdy. Barely put a foot wrong, but on the headlight flash is James Scott. He wants Blake Purdy to know that I'm not going to let you get away with this. Jake Burton's making his displeasure clear on the InSim text chat about where Jordan Caruso decided to redress that move. But Caruso couldn't have known that Maloney was coming out of the pits at that point. I think that complicated things, because when you go out of the pits at this track, you actually get a bit more of a run of speed between turn 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Jordan Caruso would have been told by the stewards, okay, you have to redress that, and I think he did that at the earliest available opportunity. It's a tough zone to go with, but you have to remember as well that Jake Maloney did shut the door on his former teammate Jake Burton, so swings and roundabouts in my view. If you want to get the handbags out, you can do it behind closed doors after the race. Now Brett Loxton wants in on Jake Burton here, the fight for 14th and 15th.
Yeah, very close between these guys, and Burton already with some big smashes to his car. It's not going to be operating to its complete potential. He wants to try and get away from Brett Loxton here, but doesn't look like it's going to be a quick process.
Nope, it's not going to be quick. It's going to be slow and painful when a driver is hurt. He's like a wounded wolf. He will not let you help. You will now have to try and fight with everything that you've got to administer a positional change in this race. So that one does continue. Richard Hampstead leads by 3.5 seconds as we enter the final 12 laps of this race. James Scott not done with Blake Purdy here. And remember, the stewards are still looking here at Brady Myers and what's happened here. Purdy doing well. A little bit of a slide there from James Scott. Just drops himself a couple tenths. Behind that, you've got Gilliam and Anderson as well in their scrap for what is 6th place on the road.
It's been a good fight back for Andrew Gilliam, making his way back into the top 10, as that looks like a slowdown for Brenton Hobson. He might just lose the position there to Job Stewart down the front straight. We're going to get a VRS replay of that.
I just had a look there at Brenton Hobson. He nearly got clattered by Job Stewart, and I think Dyson's run wide here because I think it was contact, and he's redressing the place, and he's allowing Stovold in on the battle as well. You can see, gets himself down the inside, tips him around, and you know what? That's so well to hold that, does Brenton Hobson. Position is given, and crucially, Andrew Dyson was able to hold back Jamie Stovold in that one, of course, and now that battle really does heat up here in the mid-pack.
And a bit of drama. Jake Burton's been given a black flag. That's for contact on lap 45. And as Jordan Caruso was doing the redress, Burton up the inside there of Jake Maloney. Obviously, race control deemed he was a bit too aggressive on the run into that turn and unfairly compromised Maloney, who had just come out of the pits. Oh, Brenton Hobson continuing to have some issues there, keeping his car on the track.
Dyson again. It was Dyson again. We're just hearing it from our race director here in my ear. So it seems like Brenton Hobson is making a friend of Andrew Dyson. He's a nice guy. He's a calm and humble guy, is Andrew Dyson. He doesn't like to put himself in these sorts of positions. He's immediately apologetic over the radio to Hobbo, who again is probably one of the nicest guys in sim racing. It sounds like you got two guys here who don't really want to do much, and there's the lift off then as they go through, and now he'll have to try and defend against Tom Freer. No dice. It's 2 Synergy cars through for the price of 1.
Indeed it is, and there wasn't much that Dyson could have done there as Burton comes through the pits to serve his penalty. And, man, I mean, the night started so well for Jake. He was up in 6th place at the start as all. That was quite the exit there from, I believe that's Andrew Gilliam. No, that's Job Stewart there who's just come out of the pits. I'm wondering if that might have been an unsafe pit exit because he passed over the line before the blue cone line.
Well, we'll have
he just ran wide,
I think. Just ran wide on the exit there. So just having a look at Burton as well. He says, I have 2 options. I hit Caruso, I hit Maloney, but okay, I'll take the penalty. I'll cop it on the chin and walk along to the next round. So that's probably his mentality and thinking at this stage. But this race definitely far from over at this moment in time. As look at this, Scott's back through on Blake Purdy. He's got that one done. It's a 4-car train fighting out for 4th place here in this one. As Blake Purdy now, how has he lost that one? He was very, very quietly done whilst we were looking elsewhere on pack. I think that he's managed to pick that one up over a lap ago.
Yeah.
Oh, he just ran wide at the hairpin.
Yeah, he did. Just overshot the hairpin on the lap before this one that they're currently on. So that's unfortunate there for Purdy. The only real mistake he's made all night.
Yeah, and it's cost him 1 place. He's still in 5th position overall, but he knows now that he holds a job because he's got 201, Andrew Gilliam in position 7, Anderson there in 6th, and on the back of all of this on the recovery is Cooper Webster.
Yeah, Cooper getting right up onto the back of this train and setting 1 minute 35.8, which is about 0.3 faster than what Andrew Gilliam ran at the back of that train. Sam Blacklock and Chris Coxhead, meanwhile, fighting for the minor positions. And 2 very battle-scarred machines there. And Brett Loxton not too far behind there either in the second Zuva car.
Yeah, that battle that is a little bit further down the order, but one that I'm pretty sure he'll be quite happy with if he can pick that one up. Scott, though, not out of the woods, not by any stretch of the imagination, as we are inside the final 10 laps then of this one. Going on to start lap 50 will be Richard Hampstead here, and Purdy was thinking about the mirrors then against James Scott. Thought better of it this time through, but still that alluring threat of position number 4 is the one that he is hoping that he can unlock and really grasp over the course of these final 9 laps of racing that they'll have moving forward. But what's crucial right now is that they can't afford to all trip up over each other. 5 drivers looking for 1 4th place. The maths means that there's going to be 4 losers in that battle.
Indeed, and James Scott won't want to be one of them now that he's gotten back by Purdy. seems that in terms of lap times, they are pretty even. So I don't think there's going to be much of a change there unless there is a mistake from Scott. If we look back at Corey Shepherd, though, coming out of the final corner, and Jake Burton right in the midst of these guys. He's back in 26th place and trying to get a position here on Josh Thomas, who's going to make a move there, I believe, on Jamie Stovold. As, Corey Shepherd there up the inside. And oh no, another incident. That is Andrew Dyson turned around at turn 2. Andrew Dyson and Corey Shepherd again.
Yes, and that's a nice 360 drift there to get himself going forward, but Andrew Dyson is definitely not having the best day in the world here at Montreal. So we'll see how this one goes through. He's on the brakes there, and he's now down in 29th position. That's just a case of Shepherd trying to be over-eager and aggressive there, getting much quicker compared to Dyson, gets 2 cops of a hit, gets turned around, and for Andrew Dyson, you know, this is, again, a death by paper cut as Purdy very nearly put one on James Scott going through. Look how this checks the train. Here comes Josh Anderson wanting in for the fourth Trans-Tasman car in the top 5. Door slammed shut.
Yeah, very much so there by Blake Purdy, and covers off the inside of turn 2 as well for good measure. He's really the cork in the bottle now because James Scott is starting to skip away. Thanks to that move from Purdy, he's actually lost time to James Scott.
He has, and that's crucial also. Can't afford to lose time. Now look at this in the back of all of that, because this is Gilliam under pressure, hard to the inside. Webster trying to dive for the inside. He doesn't have enough under braking. He can't turn and put the power down enough. So he lifts out of it and says, I can't make the move. Waiting must continue here at Gilles Villeneuve. So every battle still out there on track, still starting to form up here. A few battle packs going on, but Webster here wants P4, but he's got to pick him off one at a time if he wants, and that's Anderson with a slowdown.
Oh no, Josh Anderson there losing all of those positions, and certainly not the way for that race to end as Gilliam goes a bit wide at the hairpin. Cooper Webster almost giving a look in on the exit of that. But that's released Blake Purdy now from this train, and he's still within draft range of James Scott up ahead. It's defensive here from Gilliam, but moves to the racing line. Too late for the Altus car to make any kind of move.
It was one that would have needed to have taken pure conviction to manage a last lap move, you would say, but he has another chance in towards turn number 1, but he doesn't have enough drive to make that a reality. Look at this, 2 wide, 2 deep as they go through. That looks like it's Hobson and co. all there together as you see Burton with Thomas, and they can see in the back one of the Delta Sport cars there. All trying to get in. Is that Clint Shane Smith trying to get in on the action as well? This is a brilliant drive from him. He's in 24th place and really gaining a lot of time and doing well. So now you continue to see that. Hobson wants in, cross the beams a little bit, why don't we? As they jam on the brakes into that final chicane, and they manage to keep it nice and calm, this train of 5.
Very good drive there from Clint Smith as Blake Purdy has gotten a bit of his mojo back now. He's starting to catch up to James Scott again as they come into turns 8 and 9. Got to be careful of slowdowns, especially through that corner. Oh, and as I say it, James Scott, he took a bit too much of that curb and is going to have to let Purdy by here at the hairpin.
And it's going to be the most horrible feeling as he tries to slow it down as much as possible. Gilliam fighting as well as he just about holds off Cooper Webster. These two stalwarts are going to be generational talents here in sim racing. Mark my words about it as they fight pretty much door to door down there at the hairpin. Now there'll be another chance to go through and try and attack this one. And remember, they've got 6 laps yet if they want to go through for lap 53. Madison down slowly clawing that gap down in, but it looks like too little too late at this moment in time. No chance yet of the move, but Webster again picks up a great run, thinks about the move on Andrew Gilliam, but again, he's not quite in position.
Yeah, you really have to be up to the rear quarter panels of the car if you want to have a go into turns 1 and 2. At the moment, Webster needs a fantastic exit, or he needs Andrew Gilliam to make a mistake, clatter the wall of champions potentially. He won't want to be too close if that happens, but they're still bumper to bumper, and this is a potential overtaking opportunity here. It's been taken by Cooper Webster up the inside of Gilliam. They make contact and they get sucked together briefly. Gilliam, though, maintaining the position. Webster on the outside had a bit more full throttle time, but Gilliam with the inside line for turns 8 and 9. He's going to make this as difficult as possible for Cooper.
Mind the netcode, lads, as they go through, and just about held in a great position then. It is still staved off by Andrew Gilliam, but they're allowing Anderson back into the fight after the slowdown penalty. Big lunge down to the inside from Webster, and he does tap the back then of Andrew Gilliam. Slows it right up on the apex then. That catches up Anderson. 3 wide and position retained, and Anderson is not going to be happy. He goes, what on earth was that all about? I'm trying to redress my position here, and he does so on the apex, so I'm sure the stewards will have a look on whether that was a safe redressing or not, and he looks again for the inside, powers through for it. Webster can't find it.
My goodness, this is very tense between these 3 drivers, all fighting for that final spot in the top 6, and Webster again going to have a go at Gilliam at turn 1. No, again, he's just not close enough to make the move work.
It's so simple sometimes, this game. It is a case of trying to get that one extra position, but the later you look at it and the later you try to find it, the tougher sometimes it does become. All of these battles are fighting for the top 10. Anderson, Webster and Gilliam fighting it out for 6th place. Purdy and Scott for 4th and 5th overall. The top 3, we have yet to say this, and it's surprisingly so, or not surprisingly so, given the nature. It is Trans-Tasman, 1, 2, 3 again.
Again, seems like the more things change, the more they stay the same. So TTR's going to come out of this with a really good run at the first round. Corey Preston, meanwhile, has had an off at turns 8 and 9. He's just recovering now. Something obviously happened to him on the run up to that corner. Looks like he just caught the grass.
Yeah, definitely does look that way. He is a lap down at this stage. Ooh, careful, Anderson, buddies. And that is going to be Gilliam once more, just looking a little bit more tentatively in the rear view as they continue to scrap it out then for these positions. 4 laps they go through, and there's the contact replay that you see. That's a slowdown. I have to say, Josh Anderson does make a fair point there. He's right on the racing line.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I think that Webster could have afforded there to maybe wait until about halfway down the straight to just lift off slightly and let him go. But the goal is to lose as little time as possible. If you can get it done right at the exit of the corner, and that'll work out optimally for you. Unfortunately, Anderson was just right there when it happened.
Yeah, and that's the big key. It's very easy for things to go wrong, as I very nearly saw malfunctions at the junction between Jake Maloney and Jamie Stovall, who are fighting out for 15th position right now on the road. This battle continuing as they go through turn 6 and 7 out on track. No dice just yet then in that one, but they still got time. That's the crucial factor, but there is every battle up and down the order fighting for position, and I'm sure everyone who is out there in these scraps understanding what it takes to go out there and get what they need. We take another little look then at the replay here, as on the brakes you see here, this is how deep you can dive into a corner, try and pick up the run on the exit, and it didn't quite work. But again, another little look then under braking, and door open here, chance, but power on the exit's going all Gilliam's way.
Yeah, and he slots back in ahead of Cooper Webster, but the draft's going to come into play down this back straight. Gilliam's going to stay to driver's right, and Cooper Webster forced to take the long way round coming into the final chicane. He is ahead of Gilliam at the braking zone, but Gilliam moves back ahead at the turn-in point. There's no way that Webster was able to pull that off and just avoids a slide. Josh Anderson avoiding action and takes the position.
Just like that, positioned into a point of weakness, trying to put the foot in, but over that big deterrent there at the final chicane, it is a case where Cooper Webster now finds himself back in 8th place after starting this race on the pole position, mind you. So still a lot to come about then from this one as they battle on towards the end. Purdy and Scott still not fully over and done with. Keep an eye out, though, on these three, Myers, Down and Hampstead. I wonder if we'll get form finish when they come to the end of this race.
I'm wondering too, but as it stands, Richard Hampstead still setting incredibly competitive lap times. He's been in the low 36s pretty much the whole race. Surely the pace setter when it comes to these race conditions. And Madison Down there behind him ran 3/10 faster on the last lap. He's getting some pace back now in these final few laps.
I'll tell you what, keep an eye on Lee Ellis here right at the end of this race, because that is a hungry train that he is holding right now as Anderson continues his scrap with Cooper Webster here. Webster's back through into now 7th position, so the change has happened for the Trans-Tasman 36. He has dropped the position overall, but my eyes on Lee Ellis right now, because he's got Stewart and Lobb and Thomas and Burton and Clint Shane Smith. All of them are going to be in their own battles right now towards the very late stages of this race.
Yes, indeed. It seems like Lee Ellis just coming up to the hairpin now. He's got the pace over Job Stewart, 2/10 slower on the last lap. Saw an ever so brief look from Josh Thomas, and it looks like as Darren Lobb runs wide at the hairpin, that's going to be an opportunity there for the final position in the top 20. But Anderson continues to pressure as much as he can the Altus car of Cooper Webster. This is going to be a very tight finish, I think, between these two, because Andrew Gilliam is leaving them behind.
He is leaving them behind, and he is leaving them behind at a rate of knots. He is 1.4 seconds clear of these two drivers, and they still know that they've got a little bit of time remaining here in this one to try and figure some things out. Anderson, if he wants it, has got to be the aggressor in this fight for 7th and 8th position as they start to attack. So how is this going to play? How many points the driver's going to lose from their licenses and their championship points for going over instant point limits, of course? That's another thing that they'll be keeping in the back pocket if they start having a bit of biffo around with everyone. But the last lap soon to start then for Richard Hampstead, who leads this one out right here, Reese, by 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, and it's been a masterful drive from the veteran in the number 28. He's faced off pressure from all sides, from his own teammates, from the Altus boys, and ultimately he's come out of it on top. He still has a whole lap to go, but he's got a nice comfortable lead over Madison Down at the moment. 2.5 seconds between our top two there. And either way, it's going to be a great result for the Trans-Tasman Racing team as well. Pretty much the perfect start to their 2021 campaign, taking these top 3 positions.
Fourth's not safe, not by a long margin it wasn't, until a big wiggle by one Mr. James Scott pretty much put an end to that one just for a couple corners here in this one. This is Richard Hampstead. He is your race leader as Darren Lobb and his battle here. Clint Shane Smith picks one up. Jake Burton down there in 21st position. What a day he's had. But Hampstead making his way to the hairpin. This is the Trans-Tasman of 2018, which consistently put itself up at the very highest peak of sim racing, through the likes of Jake Burton, through Sam Blacklock, through Jared Philsell, through Madison Down. Everyone who was there contributed to a wonderful result overall. Richard Hampstead may not have come into this season as number 1 choice driver, but he knows that he's coming out of this one as number 1 driver in this division. He takes his drive to the line. Trans-Tasman, 1, 2, 3, the lock is back in form, and it is going to be Richard Hampstead who wins here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and the battle for 4th place holds off by Blake Purdy, who gained 16 places to finish in 4th today.
I think Purdy's one of my star drivers of the race today. There's still battles to be decided, though. Sam Blacklock and Brett Loxton battling into the final chicane. Blacklock's going to win that fight, having the advantage. Corey Preston is going to come home there in a way off position, a lap down, unfortunately.
right in the background there, that's a spinner. I think it was one of the Trans-Tasman cars there that went around then at the final chicane. I don't think we've been able to quite catch that one at the end, but I believe that we have had a spinner in the very, very dying moments then as they came towards that start-finish line. So we'll try and catch up and see who exactly that was. I haven't quite caught who it was, but a spin late then for somebody right on the final corner. But really, you have to say Trans-Tasman had a very professional run. We'll catch this on the Virtual Racing School replay as they go through. And just looking through, it's the number 29 machine then as they go through. Jake Maloney was okay, but it was a car in front of him then that was the mistake that we saw spinning right in the background then. So there'll be someone just in front of him, maybe a lap down car. Not too sure about that one. But what isn't really up for debate here, Reese, is just how well Trans-Tasman just masterminded that race. Got a bit of fortune, of course, with Cooper Webster, but, you know, 0 mistakes. That's the Trans-Tasman way.
It is indeed, and Richard Hampstead gearing up to do his victory donuts down at the hairpin. TTR was certainly the top team today. When the others made mistakes, they were there to take advantage, and that is going to be a very well-deserved puff of smoke there for Richard Hampstead down at the Lepangla hairpin. A brilliant drive, and I guess this championship is probably going to be Trans-Tasman Racing's to lose.
It is at this stage, but of course we're only 1 round in of the 15 rounds of racing that we have all coming up to try and figure out and play about with right now as we get unofficial results here from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here, this opening round of the season. Richard Hampstead picks up the win then with 58 laps worth of action. The winning margin is half a second, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Trans-Tasman 1, 2, 3. Madison Down, the reigning champion, finishes second. Brady Myers on debut with the team picks up 3rd position here in this Scops run. Blake Purdy takes 4th position for Pursuit Sim Racing. He gained an incredible 16 places during that race and was the best of the rest for Pursuit Sim Racing, with James Scott finishing out the top 5, only 3/10 behind him. Andrew Gilliam, well, he got muscled out early on and he was on the back foot from that moment onwards. 6th position for him. That's not a bad recovery, and it's those sorts of drives that put you in championship contention. Cooper Webster, what a chance he had of race victory here today. Puts it in the wall after his final stop, and that means it's only 7th for him, with Josh Anderson finishing in 8th. Griffin Gardner, quiet run from him tonight, 9th place, but a really impressive 9th place, even though he did lose 1 position from his starting grid slot, with Jordan Caruso rounding out the top 10.
Emily Jones fought her way back up to her starting position of 11th after facing many issues during that race. The McLaren Shadow car coming home just outside the top 10. Sam Blacklock just beating Brett Loxton to the line by 1.5 tenths, with Chris Coxhead, the second Zuva car, coming home in 14th. Jamie Stovold started down in 32nd, making his way all the way up to 15th. Another big mover in this field today, showing what Pursuit does best. Jake Maloney started in 12th, but fell back quite a bit thanks to slowdowns and other incidents, including the one with Jake Burton at the first chicane, 16th for him. Tom Freer and Job Stewart, 17th and 18th, with Lee Ellis coming home in 19th position. Josh Thomas suffered a penalty for contact, comes home in 20th, though, a gain of 5 positions from where he started.
Not bad at all there for Josh Thomas. Jake Burton, a day in the Virtual Racing School BJR car, which really, you would say, he wishes he could have back. He fought everyone, he had a good start, and then just ran himself into the wrong side of the road. 21st overall. Clint Shane Smith there for Delta Sport U4K in 22nd. Michael Taliancic, quiet run from him today. He is one who does know how to finish. 23rd. He gets our Super Split 2 winner, Sean Linsell, 24th overall in the alcohol holder DPR machine. A minute down come the end, with Brenton Hobson in 25th. Hobbo 88 will also want this one back. Corey Shepherd gets 26th, with Adam Briggs and Andrew Dyson 27th and 28th. Both of them having really, really unfortunate races and will want to bounce back at the next round of the championship. Zach Hanlin gets 29th, and Ben Christensen was up as high as fighting around for the top 10. P30 that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, with a 16th place start for that one, we'll be looking for some redemption. And now we get into laps down and retirement territory. Darren Lobb, Robin Kirk, Corey Preston, and Reese Keane all finished a lap down on the leaders. They were obviously involved in some of the chaos on lap 1 and many dings and bumps and spins throughout the night. Bailey Frid classified 3 laps down on the leader, but then we get into the retirement territory. The number 100 of Bradley Vaughan, Thomas Hins not making it to the finish as well, thanks to that safety car restart, checking up on the entry into the final chicane. Glenn Postlethwaite was battered about in this one, 40 laps down on the leaders. Kurt Stenberg as well, involved in a couple of big crashes. He'll be looking for a better time at the second round. Damian Johnstone and Brian Borg out on the first lap.
And with that pretty much brings the rest of the grid then to a close. We're going to step aside, though, for one moment here with SimSpeed TV. When we come back, it is post-race coverage, it is interviews here from this wonderful Gilles Villeneuve circuit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your virtual racing school V8SCOPS 2021 season. A race which I'm sure many drivers thought that they had a great opportunity, and I'm sure that many would feel that they want to try and grab that back. Ultimately, it's a back return to form to 2018 for the Trans-Tasman racing team as they go 1, 2, and 3 to start the season off with a real smile. Richard Hamstead is your race winner overall. He joins me right now. And Richard, you got the start that you desperately wanted to from third place on the grid. From there, it was a case of maintaining that position and holding off the challenges behind. But really for you, would you say that that was all down to experience, the way you had to deal with the likes of Cooper Webster today?
Yeah, cheers. Cheers, Jake. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm a little bit in shock, to be honest. It's funny because I haven't led a race from start to finish like that for years and years, and it's like the experience is almost worn off. So it was really hard to try to keep focus and try to keep in front of Cooper that first 2/3 of the race. So, but I just focused on hitting my marks, trying to keep it clean. I think I only slapped the wall once. So yeah, just trying to focus on that and focus on my own driving rather than what's going on behind.
And of course, that focus for you was very, very key. And you probably get the call at some point during the second half of the race that Cooper's put it in the wall coming out of the pits. You've got 3 seconds to play with over your teammate and boss in Madison Down. Surely at that point, you get the opportunity to relax and maybe absorb the race in a different way that you would have done maybe earlier on, where you're constantly looking back in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting. It's a different kind of pressure, because obviously when you got someone all over your gearbox, you just that's the absolute maximum pressure you can sort of find yourself in. When you've got a couple of seconds, you've still got the pressure of you wanting to win and not trying to make a mistake, but it's a little bit less intense. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people know the saying that if you back off, that's when you make a mistake. So that's the other side of it. You've got to really try to avoid just making an error.
And now, looking forward for you here, Richard, you put yourself in the best possible position. You're championship leader after 1 round, and it's Motorsports in 2 weeks' time. How do you feel that's going to play out for you as you move from a track in Canada to another track in Canada, but this time one which is all about flow and high speed and pretty much maintaining rhythm?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I certainly wasn't expecting this result, but absolutely over the moon that we got it. Yeah, Motorsport's completely different track. You probably couldn't get 2 more polar opposites than this and Mosport, but just do my best, do a similar sort of practice strategy that I did this week, and hopefully get another good result.
Well, the floor is yours here, Richard. A stunning race victory for you, and one which you savour for a very long time. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I'd say obviously a big, massive thanks to the Anti-Model Cars. They've come aboard again for this year, and I'm really glad that I could repay that with a win straight up. So yeah, massive shout out to them. Massive shout out to VRS, and obviously also to Trans-Tasman Racing. I really think that we had a great sort of team vibe going the last couple of weeks, which has, paid off with the result that we really couldn't even dream of. So massive shout out to everyone at TTR.
Richard Hampstead then picking up a very important race victory, which gives him the early season control here as we head 2 weeks' time over towards Motorsport. Reece Gardner has found the driver who finished in second position, the reigning, defending, undisputed V8SCOPS champion.
Indeed. Welcome to the commentary box, Madison Down, and a great way to start off your season with a second place finish. It didn't come easy for you though. Starting from 5th, you managed to work your way up into 4th, but those two Altus cars were making life difficult for you and Richard.
Absolutely. Yeah, got a good start there off the line and made a little bit of ground, but yeah, Altus had a pretty good car tonight, I feel, and obviously our cars were strong as well. But the pace of Webster and Scott was really strong early on, and I didn't really have an answer for it. Needed to wait for a couple of mistakes and capitalise on that. But overall, really, really happy to finish second and make it a TTR 1-2-3 tonight. Just an awesome amount of effort went in this week to get the car in the window, and it was nice to get a result there locking out the podium, and big well done to Richard. I know it's been a long time between drinks and solo race wins for him, so yeah, really cool to see him standing on the top step.
Yeah, very good result for the team indeed. The safety car that came out mid-race was the opportunity that you sought to go for the pits. Was that a quick decision for you, thinking, oh, maybe the safety car's going to come out, I might as well jump in?
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as we drove past that car at the hairpin that was parked against the wall on the outside, I called it straight away and said, I'm boxing this lap. I was worried that the safety car was going to get called in between the chicane and the start line, and the safety car would pick up the leader. So I wanted to make sure we avoided that. Fortunately, for Richard and the other guys that went through, that wasn't the case, and the safety car, came out that lap later and allowed them to stay on that same strategy path. But it was too big of a risk for me to go that one extra in case that happened. But yeah, well done to race control as well on that. We were worried that it was going to get all jumbled up and confused, and they actually played that perfectly as well. So race control did a really good job of managing that. And overall, it put everyone mostly on the same strategy, but yeah, it all worked out good.
Certainly did, but once the two Altus cars had been eliminated from that lead battle, it seemed that Richard was pretty much unstoppable there up the front. You had those flashes of pace trying to catch up to him, but for you, was it just a case of managing your pace to the end and making sure that you secured that second place?
Absolutely. Once Cooper made the mistake he did on pit exit, and we had that 1-2-3, it was just a matter of making sure we kept it. Richard had fresher tyres than myself, so I didn't really have the pace all race to match Richard. I was there or thereabouts and just couldn't ever close that gap. His pace was really, really strong, so it was just a matter of getting it to the end. But obviously we split the strategies a little bit as well, and that worked out really well for us. So yeah, as I said, massive well done to Richard. He's been waiting for a solo race win like this for a while now, and he's worked really, really hard this week to get that. So big well done to everybody at TTR. Massive thank you to our sponsors as well. We got a lot of new drivers this season and a couple of new sponsors as well. So Virtual Racing School, Bianti, Parenzo's jumped on board with Josh Anderson, and also Xtrim as well with Brady Myers, and Emily with McLaren Shadow as well. So yeah, a lot of excitement in the team, and great way to kick off the year.
Certainly a fantastic start to the year indeed. Thank you very much for joining us, Madison Down. Well, Jake, final driver interview of the night, and it's the third of our 3 Trans-Tasman podium getters.
It is. It's Brady Myers who's here with me right now. And Brady, it came as maybe a shock to a couple drivers that you decided to take the turn away from Altus Esports, move over to Trans-Tasman. Was that maybe a move predicated by the fact that, you know, you're pretty friendly with some of the drivers in the team? You used to be teammates with the likes of, say, Hampstead and Maloney, and that you were looking for maybe a culture where you felt that you could bring the best out of you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I felt that the move to TTR was one that would suit me as a supercars driver more to the ground a bit more, and I feel like tonight's performance kind of showcased that improvement from me.
And well, let's just talk about that race then for a second, because it looked like every time we were watching you, you were third, you were fourth, you were third, you were fourth. Be it Cooper Webster jumping forward, be it James Scott trying to get through. It seemed like every time you looked, you were in a very important battle in what seemed like, especially in the beginning, like a two-car battle, or a two-team battle, I should say.
Yeah, I noticed at the start it was a bit of a, Altus TTR pattern. But yeah, I just kind of found myself stuck in the train a bit. But as the race went on, I found my tires seemed to hang in a bit there better than James and those around me. So yeah, it was good to get that out of the way, because I've been out of the seat for a little bit with some technical issues. So it was just good to get that race on my belt more than anything.
Well, a breath of fresh air for you. You've got 2 weeks until the next round of the championship over at Mosports in Bowmanville, Ontario. So not much of a jump, so to speak, but a track which really does seem to, I would say, suit those drivers who love a good flow to the circuit, who have that ability to control the car in a certain way, and is one that's quite technical and challenging, especially to overtake as well. Do you feel like that you are now starting to build up progress in the best position, that you're going to start targeting now maybe more than just podiums and maybe eye up some race victories?
Yeah, 100%. I think this round definitely has been a good starting point for me to sort of kind of focus and eye myself in on the series. Like I haven't had a proper crack at it, I would say, but I think this year is probably my best shot to date of, you know, getting podiums, getting consistent top fives, or even race wins perhaps. So I'm looking forward to this year and what the opportunities may come.
Well, the floor is yours here, Brady. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank. Third place here today at, of course, the wonderful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, just like to thank a massive thank you to TTR for this amazing opportunity to represent them and their group. To my sponsors, to Extreme Motor Trimming, they've jumped on board with me this season, so it's great to get them a podium in my first race. To Virtual Racing School, Biante Model Cars, and to you guys for the broadcast. Thank you.
Brady Myers there, finishing off in third position. Can be very happy with that sort of result. But Reese, final thoughts as we bring proceedings to a close here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and we pack up and we move a little bit over across towards Mosports in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed. I mean, what a great opening round of the season. It had action aplenty. It had the resurgence of Richard Hampstead there up at the front, and it looks like Trans-Tasman Racing have played their cards very strongly here at the start of the season. But next round at Mosport, it's a happy hunting ground for Andrew Gilliam. He took his debut win there last season, so I'll keep an eye out for him. It's a beautiful track at Mosport, fast, flowing, and short. We're going to see some great racing there. We hope you join us on the 14th of March.
We certainly do. And of course, the only place you can catch that is with us at SimSpeed TV, be it YouTube or Facebook. You have the opportunity to stay with us. And if you haven't already, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe for more amazing content brought to you all throughout the weeks through a myriad of different areas of racing for you. And of course, there is so much coming up and you do not want to miss it. So be a good soldier, like, share, and subscribe if you have the opportunity to do so. But with the likes of Too Easy Finance and the Virtual Racing School helping prop things up here today, V8SCOPS 2021 has got itself off to an absolute firecracker of a start. Yes, it's 1, 2, 3 again for Trans-Tasman Racing, but by no means was that all their own way. Cooper Webster for Altus gave them a run. What about Blake Purdy? 16 places gained. Put everybody on notice that he wants to be a player in the game. This is the time where you find sim racing, and it never ceases to amaze how amazing V8SCOPS continues to be. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, ladies and gentlemen, as we take the plunge over, or I should say 3 weeks' time, actually, as we take the plunge over towards the wonderful Motorsport circuit.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my god!
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys, I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?